poltergeists, phantoms. All these names are given to the physical appearance of disembodied souls. When the presence of a ghost is felt or experienced by the living, it's called a haunting. Ghosts and hauntings exist in every culture, and all civilizations throughout history have their own superstitions and beliefs about what ghosts are and why they're here. In fact, the earliest funeral services weren't intended to honor the dead. They were ceremonies to make sure the spirits of the dead stayed dead. In ancient Mesopotamia, the dead required a proper burial in order to reach Urkala, the underworld. If the funeral wasn't followed correctly,
and I need to empty out, organize
mourning rituals, the gods would grant the dead permission to return to Earth and haunt the living. These ghosts were believed to haunt people and places just like we believe today. The ancient Mesopotamians believed that ghosts could enter a living person's body and bring them bad luck, illness, and even death.
Take these masters just in case I need to solve.
At least one creepy ghost story, something that happened to them or someone they know.
Hey, Sugar, what's up, buddy? I guess it's been a while since I've been on early enough to run into you. What's up? Oh, I friggin' recalled back to the guild house. What an idiot.
Ghosts were all over the place, and then this Sumerian god shows up, and they end up making sweet love to Sigourney Weaver. And
Hang on.
What?
That's the plot of Ghostbusters.
I know! Aykroyd stole that from me!
I highly doubt that.
Well, we'll see what you say after the lawsuit.
Wait, what did you say about Sigourney Weaver?
Oh, sure. Now you're interested, huh? You'll have to wait for my memoir like everybody else.
I'm doing okay, buddy.
One of the first recorded hauntings was by the author and statesman Pliny the Younger in the 1st century AD. Pliny the Younger is mostly remembered for his dramatic first-hand account of the Mount Vesuvius eruption in 79 AD.
Sounded really bad, that audio there.
Ghost story. The most famous of Pliny's ghost stories is that of philosopher Athenodorus Canonites. Athenodorus was looking for somewhere to live in Athens and came upon a property that seemed incredibly affordable for its size.
How about you with Shaken? What have you been up to? You've been landing? You've been T-mapping? You've been doing any tired of T-mapping yet?
Not being one for the quote vain terrors.
See, you're not boating. Oh, I was on the right guy. What the hell?
Rented the property and everything was fine at first. Then one night he was doing some writing when he heard chains rattling.
Then began the clanking of iron chains. However, he neither lifted up his eyes nor laid down his pen, but closed his ears.
Oh, you haven't been playing at all.
The noise increased and advanced nearer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember seeing you saying that you're actually just out, you know, being a real human, doing real stuff.
It stood before him, beckoned.
Okay, side note. Athenodorus was a famous Stoic. Stoicism is a philosophy of
That's good, though.
Inner peace.
That's good. I'm glad. I saw that you got a new vehicle there. Pretty excited about that, I'm sure.
So a ghost shows up dragging chains.
Why does that look so different?
And rather than freak out, Athenodorus does the most
That's just
thing I've ever heard of.
the way the paints look now. It's odd.
Athenodorus holds up a finger.
That's good. That's good.
He just needs a minute to finish what he's doing. But the ghost kept rattling his chains, and when Athenodorus turned around, the ghost beckoned him once again.
The ghost slowly stalked along as if encumbered with its chains, and having turned into the courtyard of the house, suddenly vanished. The next day,
what did it have to get done? Just like tuned up, ready to go?
There they found bones commingled and intertwined with chains. For the body had molded away by long lying in the ground, leaving them bare and corroded by the fetters. The bones were collected and buried at the public expense, and after the ghost was thus duly laid, the house was haunted no more.
I need to sell that 2.0 that I have in there.
Pliny the Younger and Athenodorus. This is one of the many examples of hauntings that convinced Pliny that ghosts were very much a real thing. But ghosts don't
3 days.
stereotype of being spirit-like apparitions.
I'm sure I'll remember to sell it. No chance. I just don't play for 3 days, right?
Poltergeists have been investigated as far back as 856 AD. When
all right.
Poltergeist in German means rumbling or noisy spirit.
I think I got everything ready.
Which have limited interaction with the physical world, poltergeists cause physical disturbances. This one threw stones and started fires.
Just another day.
Holy, the car will be fitted with a metal bumper, a winch, a bull bar, suspension kit, new 17-inch rims, summer tires, 4 additional roof lights, and 2 at the front, a new exhaust system, and tint. Okay, so you like did it up. Or I guess you're planning on using it around the bush and stuff, eh? It's a pretty good size for that.
Surprisingly easy to find.
I can see that Really be good for whipping around the property and shit. Be nice.
Everyone has a ghost story, but how many people actually go looking for ghosts?
Today, Thursday?
Most people think of ghost hunting as a recent trend, something you see in
I'll
chasing
go
reality
friggin'
TV.
hit a little more dungeon stuff for a bit. I'm paying attention. The alarm's on and shit. If anybody gets in trouble, I'll just bounce out.
Someone grab my ass. What? Like hard, Nick. Hard. I could feel like this on my butt.
My butt.
Ghost bro.
Or even cheesier YouTube videos.
Oh, what are they doing? Setting up a volleyball?
No, they're gonna catch a ghost.
Oh, okay.
Easy. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to.
What was that?
But people have been trying to actively locate
It'll be pretty cool to have
and
around
contact
there.
the dead for thousands of years. Just recently, a cave was found near Jerusalem with
Shall
artifacts
swear.
relating to Roman
Die.
era death magic tools used to contact lost relatives.
Did they find any ancient
Let's put
Roman
one.
volleyball nets?
Sure, I'll figure
Not
it out.
that I'm aware of.
You see any ghosts near you, Sugar? Anytime you're in the land of some weird stuff. You ever see anything crazy out there in the forest?
Contacting the dead directly via psychics or seances, or going to an allegedly haunted location in order to identify the presence of ghostly phenomena. Ghost hunting took off as a scientific pursuit
Right.
in the 19th and 20th centuries, and things
Rolling.
started out simple. People would gather, look for disturbances, make observations, and try to identify whether there were ghosts in their homes. One of the first books on the subject was published in 1936. It's called Confessions of a Ghost Hunter by Harry Price, 30 years into his career as a professional hunter.
Was it a
The
big
book
brown bear?
Price describes how that all that was needed to investigate hauntings in the early 1800s was a black parlor, a red
Is it
lamp,
brown
and
bears that are the
present
scary ones and black bears that aren't?
vivid imagination. Other early
Or vice
examples
versa?
of ghost hunting methods that are still in use today include dowsing. And this is where Y or L-shaped rods, often called dowsing rods, are used to locate hidden resources like groundwater.
Well, yeah, I
gemstones,
mean,
grave sites,
yeah,
and
we're not
all kinds
talking
of stuff
grizzly
without
though.
the use of scientific equipment. Then there's a tool that everybody knows: Ouija boards.
The old Kodiak bear. I saw a little video, actually speaking of bears, I saw a little video the other day of a male Kodiak. Like they were in a whatever, sanctuary or whatever, but a male Kodiak compared to a female Kodiak, and it's like
It comes with a
almost
small,
3 times the
heart-shaped piece of
size.
wood or plastic called a planchette.
Pretty wild.
A group of people will sit in a circle around the board and gently place their fingers on the planchette.
Are they? Oh, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure those are the ones that are in BC a lot, like in the trash dumps and stuff.
But back in the early 19th century, the Ouija board was revolutionary. People even wrote to Price in support of the board and its incredible ability to conjure the spirits of
The
dead.
Ouija board?
They even offered advice on how to get better results.
Dear Mr. Nichols, I cannot recommend you to any materializing medium, nor do I think that materialization is by any means the best form of manifestation. It is the one most open.
Oh, I should probably grab the regs.
And my experience is that materializing spirits never say anything worth listening to. You had better experiment with the Ouija in that way if any of your circle is at all medium mystic. You will get much better results. I am, yours truly, W.T. Stead.
Everybody's an expert.
Yep.
Everybody's an expert.
Yep. A series of events led to ghost hunting becoming one of the most popular recreational activities and scientific pursuits. And two of the greatest minds in modern history were leading the charge.
Just the old recreational ghost hunting.
These two
Shug?
inventors
Huh?
were best known for
Let's
their
get the Ouija board out.
the
Turn the lights off. Light a candle.
alternating current and Edison's direct current. But they also spent years battling
Allow
it
something
out
into your home.
for
See what
scientific
happens.
evidence that validated the existence of ghosts, and they both got pretty close. Edison created the ghost phone. Tesla called his invention the spirit radio. The basic principle behind these devices is similar to a crystal radio, which receives
It is crazy. Like, I mean, ghosts are not
sound
something that I
without the
think
use
much of.
external
But it is crazy when you hear stuff like that, like Edison and, you know, them, you know, famous inventors, if you will, creating things like that. Like, you'd think if there was absolutely nothing to it, they'd maybe be smart enough to not bother wasting their time, but
would one day combine to give us all the tools we
I don't
need
really
to
know.
fight
Maybe
ghosts.
it's just something they
While
were
most
into.
videos and images of ghosts end up being fake, there are still countless examples of technological devices appearing to pick up signals from the dead. And a lot of those can't be debunked.
Sir, why did you lead those to my fucking dick?
A process used in modern science to prove or disprove various various theories is the collection of proxy data. Proxy data indirectly suggest a theory is true, like using tree rings to see how hot or cold different summers were when we don't have actual records, or how we can tell whether different parts of the planet were under the ocean because of the existence of sedimentary rock deposits in the middle of the desert, or marine fossils on mountaintops. The more the data shows similar results, the more we can
Work
prove
going
the
good,
theory is true.
Shug? You guys
In
still
ghost hunting, we
pumping
have
out the
so
cool
much
stuff?
proxy data that it's hard to know
I've been
which
trying. I mean, I
There
wouldn't call
are
it a
a
lot,
of
no, but I've been
instruments that
trying
detect
more.
the
This week
energy
has
matter
been a
is
better start
fluctuating
for me.
abnormally, suggesting the
That's good,
presence of a ghost.
Here.
We even have audio
Shit
and
you
video
make so
equipment
cool.
that can record things we'd never otherwise
It's a
be
big
able to
kid
see
with
just our naked
cool
eye.
stuff to do big
Probably
kid
the most
things with.
well-known scientific ghost hunting tool is an EMF reader, basically a modern-day ghost phone meets spirit radio. EMF stands for electromagnetic field, and these are invisible areas of energy often referred to as different types of
Yeah, I've been
radiation,
trying.
such as radio waves, X-rays,
It's not going great, but I'm gonna try to do at least, if I can, 5 hours most days. I did 5 hours, whatever it was, 2 days ago there, and I didn't feel very good after. I didn't sleep much, but I slept okay last night, so I'm getting on early, and I'm gonna try to just hang out slowly. It's why I have like the stupid YouTube thing set up there, because at some point I gotta stop and bring my legs up and let them chill out for a bit. But at least we can watch something. I don't know. I hope restream some of the stuff won't get me banned. I was gonna restream the new Ancient Apocalypse episodes because I was interested in watching them, but I was told that restreaming Netflix might not be the best idea in the world. So. But I think YouTube's okay. Oh man.
That's definitely a ghost.
Yeah, well, they thought so.
No, dude. I think I'm gonna go hang out in the lobby for a little bit. With other people. Yo.
Ghost hunters believe that spirits can
Why are
cause
people just
shifts
throwing
in
money on the
magnetic
ground?
field, causing
Yep.
EMF meters to pick up their frequency. The same goes
Brings
for
me a little
K2
bit closer to
meters,
my gold
which
links.
also detect random spikes in electromagnetic energy that seem to come out of nowhere. And many of these types of devices can also pick up the sudden temperature drops that are so uniquely associated with hauntings. You know how you get a sudden shiver or out of nowhere you feel like you're being watched? Well, ghost hunters say that's a spirit walking through you. With most EMF meters, ghost hunters get two forms of proxy data: sudden unexplained changes in an electromagnetic field and isolated temperature changes. Another piece of ghost hunting equipment is
I really
an
should
anemometer,
put some of
which
this
is
stuff
commonly
on
used by meteorologists
macros
to
now.
measure wind speed and pressure. In ghost hunting,
Ah,
you can use an anemometer
too
to
many
see
mobs.
sudden changes in airflow or detect cold spots. They're also helpful in cases where someone suspects a ghost is slamming doors or moving items around their homes.
Ooh, like a poltergeist?
Exactly.
Crossover children, all are welcome. All welcome. Go into the light.
You been doing anything else? Pizza? Anything like that? Normally you got some hobby going.
Sense serenity in the light.
Anything else, or just been busy with work?
When you
The new
couple
Schwip,
EMF readings
new
with
ride.
data from anemometers, ghost hunters can pinpoint tiny fluctuations in temperature and the electromagnetic field, which are then confirmed using infrared thermometers.
Smoking. You're in your smoking meat phase, eh?
It's
Good? You gotta post pictures. Pen's gonna be mad if he finds out you're smoking meat and not posting
It looks
pictures.
like a deck.
I got it.
Nice, man. Keeping that
There's also
that
something
hot
called
dadness about you.
electromagnetic
That's good. Staying in shape. You must be down a little bit of weight then, being so active and not sitting anymore. Not spending 13 hours. Oh,
It reacts when anything
not
that
spending
conducts
13 hours with your legs
electricity
up.
is near it.
That's amazing.
A REM pod has 5 different lights that indicate the strength of the disturbance.
Nice.
A REM pod is basically a modified theremin, which is an electronic musical instrument that's played without actually touching it. The musician manipulates the magnetic field around the instrument to change the sound.
Oh, I didn't realize. I don't even know what guild this is. Here.
Well, Doctor Who is still on.
Yeah, but is it though?
Another piece of equipment is the Mel meter, which was specifically designed for ghost hunting. Mel meters use an antenna to detect motion. They have a gauge to track changes in temperature and have all the same elements as an EMF reader.
Oh, it's fantastic news, buddy. Oh no.
I have absolutely no idea what's happening.
Most of these devices are pretty much the same.
I was not paying
They're a lot
attention.
better at debunking a haunting than proving one. But in many cases, the information provided by these devices is enough to lay
Hold
the
up.
groundwork for ghost hunters to take their explorations a step further and gather video and audio evidence of specters. Because it's one thing to detect a ghost, but it's something else entirely when you actually see one.
Oh, forgot about that thing being there. Bet you the missus is loving that. When are you guys gonna come visit Canada? I know it's like, it used to be a thing that people wanted to do, and I understand that maybe it's not too high on people's list anymore, but I feel like you should want to. Go visit BC, and then I'll fly there, and we'll meet up with Penn. We'll get kebab.
Full spectrum cameras.
It'll be good times.
A full spectrum camera can pick up all forms of light, from infrared through ultraviolet. They're not that complicated to make. You can convert just about any camera into a full spectrum camera. All you have to do is remove the infrared cut filter and replace it with a piece of clear glass, which makes it sensitive to UV. And by the way, even though you can convert most cameras to full spectrum, don't try to convert your phone. You'll definitely break it.
Just happened.
Ghost hunters use full spectrum cameras to try and pick up things we can't see with our naked eye. And surprising no one, they're most commonly used in...
This is starting to feel better. Like, I understand that it's not good in, like, the grand scheme of how strong PVMers are, but, like, I can definitely see where it would get its strength from.
These ghosts come in all shapes and sizes. Some ghost hunters prefer using just infrared video light. These cameras are more than enough to film in near or total darkness. Or if you want to be really basic and find ghosts in dark environments, you can just use a black light. Ghost hunters will often use black lights to reveal hidden or hard-to-find evidence of ghosts or messages from our ancestors. A black light is a type of light bulb that emits ultraviolet light. This type of light is not visible to the human eye, but when it shines on certain materials, it can cause them to glow. Black lights are also excellent for revealing hoaxes. They can spot super-thin laser lights, fishing lines, even holograms, and other weird devices used when someone is staging a haunting.
Hold on.
Another way to figure out if a haunting is a hoax
in that
is by
spot,
using
or even
an
close
SLS
to.
camera.
I went to the wrong spot. I did not
SLS
call it.
stands for structured light
Ethan Newton is
sensor.
curious.
These
Called it
cameras
wrong.
send out thousands of tiny points of light to map out a room or other type of space, revealing things that aren't apparent to the naked eye. Ghost hunters use SLS cameras to identify apparitions that alter the way light flows through the space. But how do we know that these figures and shapes are really ghosts and not aliens or shadow people or something else entirely? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We can just ask them. We've come a long way since phone and spirit radio. We have tools right in our pockets that allow us to record everything going on around us and analyze that information to see if there's anything we've missed. There are many different types of audio devices that you can use in ghost hunting, and all look for the same things. EVPs or ITCs. EVPs are electronic voice phenomena. ITCs are instrumental transcommunication. EVPs
Just slightly
are
annoying.
by pure disembodied voices. And these
Okay, we got
voices
other
can be
stuff
captured
we
on
gotta
an audio device,
do
but
right
you
now.
usually can't hear them. Ghost hunters often have to analyze and break down the layers of sound at a later time to hear the messages. ITCs are a little more nuanced. Instead of recording a sound that needs to be analyzed later, an ITC happens when ghosts interact with radios and other
You know what I
mediums
don't like?
in real time.
Is I can't get to this island over here.
Most examples of EVPs and ITCs
I don't have a
include
rune
single
yet.
words
I gotta
or
find
repeated
one.
phrases, maybe a short sentence at the very most.
I can't get there.
Usually they're nothing more than grunts or groans. The quality of EVPs often fluctuates as well. They fall on a scale from Class A to Class C. Class A being the easiest to understand and are usually pretty loud.
At one point, Jay says, "Princess, are you in the room?"
Jesus.
And sounds like she says, "Of course I'm here. Where are you?"
Princess, can you at least let us know you're in here? Can Maybe say something. Maybe say.
Class B EVPs have some warping on particular syllables. They're lower in volume or sometimes sound like the person is far away.
Will we get there to help? I don't know. Let's find out.
Class C EVPs are the hardest to understand or interpret.
So if you know of anybody that did it, can you let us know, or can you move just a little piece of plaster? It doesn't seem to hurt anything. It doesn't seem to hurt anything. It doesn't seem to hurt anything.
When a message can't be clearly understood, some ghost hunters will turn to the Outlands. The Outlands is a device that contains a database of various words and syllables. It said it can detect and translate energy fields. People call it a speak and spell for the dead.
All right, looks like I missed all the fun.
And it said abort, unholy chills.
By picking up on certain fluctuations, the Outlands works as a middleman between the world of the living and the world of the dead. When asked a question, pretty much any question, the Outlands will respond.
Do you know that we're gonna come inside? Do you know where this voice is coming from?
Oh, wow.
Thanks to all these
What did it say?
tools, the world of ghost hunting is abundant with proxy data, all of it adding up to validate the existence of ghosts. So ghosts are real, right?
Where is this?
Our fascination with ghosts and ghost hunting has created a huge industry.
What do you think, Shug? Ghosts are real or ghosts not real?
Haunted tourism are so big that some towns refuse to engage with their haunted histories. They don't want to damage their reputations or be descended upon by packs of YouTubers with wacky gadgets. But that hasn't stopped people from traveling all over the world to hunt for the dead. And they spend a lot of money on devices to help
Hey, Buffy.
with mixed results.
Buffy.
EMF meters,
Shaking,
for
buddy.
example. EMFs are invisible chunks of energy.
Not real team. I mean, I'm not on any team at all. So you're not. I'm just. Lately, I have found it interesting on how much stuff seems to be coming out about things that were very seriously considered to just be straight up nonsense, right? Like the government admitting that they have programs and stuff for UFOs or UAPs. Like, okay, are they just drones? Probably. Whose drones?
They were made specifically for ghost hunting, but the readings don't mean anything. They don't prove that ghosts exist.
Because you would think if they were the state's drones, they probably wouldn't be, you know, even remotely concerned. They'd probably hide them better, I would think.
Only have a distance to light ratio of 12 to 1. They only give you an average temperature reading of a large area. Black lights, anemometers, and thermometers. All the data collected using these scientific tools can be explained by naturally occurring phenomena. Then there's all the audio recordings. Sure, some EVPs and ITCs might be real, but how you interpret the sounds is often a function of your own beliefs. Some psychics think the voices
Okay,
they hear
what's your take on UFOs
could
then?
be their
Hit me
own
up.
projected consciousness.
I want to know.
People often believe they're hearing messages from angels or demons.
I mean, I guess you have a super clear sky there, eh? If you're not playing games, you might just be out there chilling. There are UFOs, okay. All right. What do you think they are? Who's flying them? It does seem like that's one thing that can't really be refused anymore, is that there are just things in the sky. It's kind of scary considering. You think they're multiple things, or your just opinion on what they might be varies?
It's just too easy to fake an EVP, and just as easy to hear something just because you want to. And that's basically what the Outlands device is. Like I said, it's just a simple collection of environmental detectors that spit out sound. Unfortunately, the desire to find ghosts exceeds the actual evidence they exist. Whether it's a photo from a full-spectrum camera or any type of audio recording, everything can be altered to reveal what the hunter wants to find. The first ghost hoax photograph was taken way back in 1861 by William H. Mumler. Mumler took a self-portrait with a plate that was already exposed. It looked like there was a ghost behind it. He shared the image with his friends as a joke, a 19th century meme. But as the photograph reached more people, some of them started claiming it was
19th century meme. That's where the first meme was?
Everywhere. Now, even if it's not manipulated, with no consistency on how ghost hunters gather their data, how can anyone prove anything scientifically? You need to follow precise methodologies when trying to prove something with science. And ghost hunting does not follow the scientific method.
You know what this video and stuff always reminds me of is the Blair Witch Project. Anytime I see it, anytime I see that type of video stuff, I instantly think of the Blair Witch Project.
But even those types of cameras are famous for picking up all kinds of...
And are you telling me what the other ones could be? Sugar, or are you keeping that a secret? Because I've just been waiting because I feel like you're typing up some story that you have of you seeing one and they're telling you that you have great hair and you being like, yep, these things are for real for sure.
And the reality shows don't help.
A young man she met here who was a seaman went away. A seaman, a man of the you might call merchant marine today.
A what?
Stop.
Seaman.
Let go of yourself. Let go of your hand. Let go of your neck. Stop. Let go of me.
But is lack of science a problem for ghost hunters or a problem for science? And what if we've been using the wrong type of science all along? Well, none of the tools
You ever see anything in your sky that you can't really explain off the top of your head? Like you were like, ah, that's not a plane.
They haven't done. They haven't proven that ghosts are not real. The human body is acutely attuned to its physical environment.
I don't think I have either. And like, oh my god, I almost just died. And like, I used to spend a lot of time looking at the sky, like when I was out fishing and stuff like that, right? Used to go camping a lot. I don't really remember anything.
That's best scratched by visiting with the dead. Other people get into paranormal research because they miss a deceased loved one and want to regain that connection. Despite centuries of research, no one can say definitively what happens after death. No one can agree on what people experience during a near-death experience. Are people having a hallucination, or is there something more to it? Ghost stories are one of the few things that unite all cultures around the world, now and through all of history. And that's an awful lot of proxy data. Near-death experiences are often described the same way, regardless of culture. Now, something this universal could be grounded in truth. And maybe the answers are out there, and we just haven't discovered the right technology to prove they exist. At least, not yet. The implications of discovering ghosts are far more profound than just figuring out what happens after death. If ghosts are real, everything we know changes. Even though modern ghost hunting is clouding the science, people are not going to stop believing in ghosts or stop looking for them. Believers and
I didn't know that guy was after that.
seek a connection to people of the past. And this could be the recent past.
My bad.
Or could be the distant past where a ghost can help us fill gaps in history. And the need to prove
The only reason I'm watching this is the new Y-Files out. I don't know what he's been doing. I hope he's not. Like, I've been watching the Y-Files for, you know, a year or so now. And he went from, you know, seemingly pretty healthy to not pretty healthy. And now it seems like he's having some trouble making episodes. So they've been doing a lot of compilations of just like, it's like 10 minutes of him just like explaining things in between, and then it's just old videos stuck together. Hope he's doing okay. He put out a little post that like he got stressed and he got busy and then he got sick, but like I don't know what sick means. You know, like if it's just stress and whatnot, you'd hope if you'd have a couple weeks off, he'd bounce back. But it doesn't seem like he's doing much bouncing back.
We have to live in the present moment, because we never know when the present moment will be our last.
I'm gonna have
I
to
think having a fear of death is
brace up my leg here soon.
Pleasant, but it's healthy and normal. Fear of death is nothing to be ashamed of. That fear keeps you present. That fear keeps you safe. And that fear, it's what makes us human. Next up, an episode all about shadow people. Now, maybe they're ghosts, maybe they're evil spirits or demons. I don't know, but it's a pretty common occurrence. Now, I kind of don't believe in ghosts or shadow people. But I have to admit, I had a shadow person experience. I'm looking at my notes because I didn't even like to memorize this one. Okay, there are a few types of shadow people that everyone sees. There's like 6 or 7 versions, but there's lots of people see the Hat Man.
I think's gonna die.
There's
The Hat Man.
Watcher, there's the Child. Super
creepy. The guy that's talking right now in the YouTube video in the corner there
is the one I saw.
Because like his channel blew up. Like when I started watching, he would do like little 15-minute episodes of like just like well-known myths or whatever, right? And then he would like tell the story of the myth, and then he would tell you about all the like research that he did. And oh my god, that just terrified me. Whether or not he would find anything that like made it credible, or obviously debunked, or a lot of it just gets debunked because they're just myths. But then his channel started blowing up, and people wanted like more in-depth episodes, and so he started doing that, and he was just banging out like 40-minute episodes every week for months, like I don't know, 6-8 months, something like that. And then like a week got missed, and then like 2 weeks got missed, and then the first compilation came out that I saw. And now he actually, openly admitted that the stress got to him, and he was obviously just too stressed.
Instinct you have tells you this entity is not friendly. You hear a light hum and maybe a rush of air, and the dark entity vanishes. You've just encountered.
So like now he doesn't do them every week,
this
which
one was
is
pretty benign. But there are some shadow people sightings that are more intense, more real.
Obviously,
these encounters can be traumatic and in some cases violent. I should know because it happened to me.
Oh, that's right. I remember this. He talks about this. I mean, obviously you'll hear it here, but just in case it's not loud, he talks about this story where he had like a hallucination where someone was, I think it was a woman, he explains, was sitting on him, and he had full body paralysis, and he'll tell you that he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. Like the last ones I watched while I was streaming, it was the stories that like made him a believer in things that he didn't believe. And he talks about like the ones that are like, man, those are like MK Ultra and shit like that, right? Like the government's admitted mind control that they did for years and years on, like deep intelligent agents and stuff. He's like, they admitted it. Like it's a real thing.
Or the crab cat.
The what?
No, the crab cat. All goldfish are afraid of him. He's half crab, half cat, who works in a sushi bar in the underworld.
They have sushi in the underworld?
Before the crab cat appears, you hear him sharpening his blade, and the room will smell like sake. If the crab cat catches you, he meows, "Omakase!" Then he cuts off one of your fins, and you spend all of eternity swimming in circles.
Circles? Oh, because he cuts off one fin.
Fear the crab cat! Fear the crab cat.
Whether a chupacabra, evil Santa Claus, or a crab cat, these stories couldn't be any more different. But one legend is universal. Shadow people. Shadow people are seen in every culture on Earth, and shadow people encounters have been happening for thousands of years. And of all the thousands or maybe millions of shadow people encounters over the years, the descriptions are eerily similar. Most often, they appear as nothing more than silhouettes. They lack defining characteristics. You can feel that there are facial features there, but you can't see them. The majority of shadow people sightings happen when you're in bed at night, though they have been seen outside, especially in dark wooded areas. Shadow people have been seen in broad daylight. It's not uncommon to hear a humming or a buzzing or a whooshing sound when a shadow person is present. And some people hear electricity, and some people hear the shadow person whispering or even screaming in their ear. In most cases, the shadow people will disappear when you see them. They'll zip into a corner, fly through a wall, or just fade away. But in some rare cases, shadow people don't disappear. They become more clear and detailed. And in very rare cases...
Are these my mobs that died to the disease, you think? So.
Hey, AJ and Hecklefish. The first attached image was from the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia. It's a really creepy place that my paranormal team and myself have investigated many times. This was captured in the cafeteria by our night vision camera. We investigate in complete darkness and heard
I can't really see what it is. I don't know how it looks for you guys or not. I mean, it's obviously super small, but...
this location. The second attached image was caught by Oakmont Paranormal in a joint
What is that?
investigation
You
of an
unlocked?
Andrew Carnegie
Ooh, Wizard
Library
Grimoire
and
point.
Music Hall in Pittsburgh. It looks to have glowing eyes. The lady sitting in front of the figure called our attention to the movement around her and said that she was feeling sick.
How strong this guy is. Oh, I thought I was about to die. Thought I was getting flamed in the face there.
The Choctaw have been in America for almost 4,000 years. They were among the 5 civilized tribes as described by Europeans, meaning the Choctaw had an organized and advanced society. They had a high literacy rate.
Okay.
They had centralized governments.
We'll go walk to the stairs. Stupid brace on for an hour or so.
With other tribes as well as with Europeans.
After
The
we flame
Choctaw
strike this thing,
accept
slash
white
after
and
we
black
I've
people
lost it.
into their
Yeah.
tribes through marriage. And despite all these modern sensibilities, the Choctaw had a rich mythology. They have a story about the Nolusa Chito. This is a shadow being who appears when someone allows
See where I
evil
put it.
thoughts to enter their mind. The Nolusa Chito appears while they're sleeping and devours their soul. These entities are so terrifying to the Choctaw that to this day, many people will not say the name. The Choctaw also have Nolusa Thalea, which literally translates to long black being. This is a shadow person who lives in the woods and appears at dusk to torment hunters and children who stray too far from camp. Cultures from all over the world have similar legends. Medieval Europeans fear the incubus who assaults women while they sleep. The succubus assaults men. The word nightmare comes from ancient Germanic or Norse. A mare or mara is a demon that sits on your chest and tries to strangle you while you sleep. This creature is known as Kikimora to Russians, Czechs, and
Kikimora.
Swedes. Even the Sumerians 5,000 years ago told stories of the Alu. The Alu
Lotto playing the pillar.
for victims who are
Little
asleep.
1v1 here.
The Alu can paralyze you, possess you, and put you in a coma. In Arabian and Islamic mythology and theology,
Baba
jinns are
Yaga.
supernatural creatures created from smokeless and scorching fire. Many Muslims believe the jinn are real. An individual member of the jinn is known as a jinni, and this is where we get the word genie.
Oh, bear guy down.
Yep.
Okay. All strapped up.
Oh no.
Ready to...
Strong as 10 regular men.
Want to be the best PBMer ever.
He's faced the galloping hordes, 100 bad guys with swords. Who sent the goons to their lords? Why, Prince Ali. Oh, you didn't see that coming?
I did. I was just hoping to avoid it. The jinn are typically invisible, but
Alibaba.
they're often seen as large, shadowy figures. Jinn are able to take control of a human's body, but they can only do this if the victim
I
is in a
just
weakened
want to
state.
hit the mobs.
Feelings of unhappiness and depression can make someone vulnerable to a jinn. Jinn have free will and can be either good or evil. The good ones will support, assist, or protect humans, but the evil ones, they can kill you.
They can kill you.
At a job site, there were more than a few of them. I never looked at them straight on or they would vanish. The dogs reacted to them every time they appeared.
No, no, it vanished.
The job site saw them. The site was up in the Northern California foothills near Copperopolis. This area was active Native American territory. Also was very active during the gold rush. I would be sitting in a chair in the guard shack looking down the long driveway when something would catch my eye in my peripheral view. If I turned forward to it, it would vanish. If I focused my view down the road, I could see the outline of a person, mostly like a shadow, as if the apparition
Mostly like a shadow.
rather than reflect. Part of our pass downs involved sharing what the shadow people did during that shift. Too many corroborated witness accounts to write it off.
Look at those damage. Oh, you guys can't see them. It's all blocked. Ooh. There's a lot of them. A lot of damage numbers. I wonder if I could put up my journal somewhere.
Americans are familiar with the Vietnam War, the proxy war between Cold War superpowers that lasted from 1955 to 1975. But what about the Laotian Civil War, which happened at the same time? It was fought between the Kingdom of Laos, supported by the United States and its allies, against Lao communists. It's also known as the Secret War in American intelligence circles because CIA recruited thousands of fighters from the local Hmong population to hold back the communists. Well, the Secret War did not go well for the CIA. The Hmong people became refugees, and thousands of them fled to the United States. When the Hmong arrived in America, suddenly young, healthy men were dying in their sleep. Over 100 men died this way, and doctors had no idea what caused it. But the Hmong did know what caused it. They believe in an evil night spirit that sits on your chest.
Fucking laser beam, man.
They call it a pressure demon. But as long as you're faithful
pressure
to your
demon.
rituals and keep your ceremonial objects near your bed, you're safe. The Hmong believed that they were being punished by shadow entities for leaving their homeland. To this day, there's no medical explanation as to why all these young men died. When this story appeared in the LA Times, Wes Craven was inspired to write A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is actually based on a shadow person. And as frequent as shadow people encounters were throughout history, it seemed to be a fringe phenomenon.
Imagine if Freddy Krueger was real. Holy, that would be scary.
Nobody knew how common shadow people's sightings were. But all of that would change in 2001 when shadow people would go mainstream.
When I was on active duty in the Marine Corps,
Can't believe how much better this feels. I might do some crawl today just for the XP. See if I can get a few levels. See if I can get to like level 5 death today or something.
My roommate was on the other side of the base. As I go to bed, I turn over and slightly open my eyes.
Cannot push the right buttons as much as I used to, and I don't know if that's a me thing or what the fuck is happening.
Arms and legs moving. I see it literally crawl into his bed, and clear as day, I see the thing turn over like it was looking at me. In a panic, I backed into the wall, never blinking and staring at what I just saw. I grabbed my phone and turned the flashlight on, only to see the bed empty. A few weeks later, I finally tell my roommate what I saw, and he was speechless, and said he saw something similar a few days before I told him.
Find something.
My husband and I are paranormal investigators. We lived in Oklahoma. We decided to check out the Joplin spook light. I just turned the car off when my husband said he could hear a conversation coming from the field next to us. We didn't think anyone would be out in the dark and the cold rain just having a conversation. As I looked past my husband toward the field, I saw from the corner of my eye the light shining into the car was being blocked, starting from the left to the right. I quickly turned my head and watched as 1, 2, 3, 4 shadows ran behind the car.
4 shadows.
Quickly blocked the light from the yard light.
Shadows don't run.
Driven about 100 miles to investigate the spook light. I put the car in gear and noped it out of there after parking for less than 3 minutes.
That's the one thing that drives me nuts about this stuff and like people that hunt things, right? Like if you're not willing to put yourself in maybe the most precarious position possible that you could be, and I mean maybe die, maybe you just have a random heart attack for being too scared, but if you're not willing to go and do it, then what the fuck are you doing there? Like if you're gonna be somewhere and see something and you're gonna nope out of there and just run away, like you're not really doing anything much of a service, are you? I think I've seen that video. I mean, I've seen the videos on his compilations.
In April 2001, Art
Still got a minute.
took a random call on Coast to Coast AM. The caller told Art a story about shadow people. Nobody had ever heard of shadow people before, at least not by this name. But Art found the story interesting and asked if anyone else in the audience had a similar encounter. Well, 4,500 stories came in. And last week, I asked viewers of the Y-Files to send their shadow people stories. We got almost 300 submissions in one day.
Art Bell got way more than you.
Well, of course he did. He's Art Bell.
You're jealous.
I'm not jealous. It's not a competition.
Well, yeah, that's what someone
Wait,
who
I'm
loses a
confused. So the
competition
guy's gone?
says.
I'm not competing with Art Bell.
Oh, that's abundant.
People that ping and then just leave it.
Shadow people
Kinda
will fall into one of a
Kinda
few
are my
types.
bane.
The first is just a black mist without any form. It may look like a cloud of slowly moving smoke. You know this is a shadow person because you can feel a presence or a negative energy in the room. Next, human-shaped shadows. These shadow people clearly have a body, head, and shoulders, though you can't make out any features. Even though you can't see their face, you still get the sense it's looking at you. Like the black mist shadows, these typically disappear when you look directly at them, and this encounter is the most common.
One encounter. I can see that chance. Al?
When I was 8, I was experiencing a lot of turmoil in my life due to an alcoholic and abusive father. At this point is when the shadow people started appearing. Never doing anything, just watching. It scared me, but I dare not say anything for fear of being beaten. As the years passed, my
I'm a little surprised that is where I was able to launch, but alright. We learned something today, so that's good.
Apparitions. Once I was with my best friend as a teenager, and a man walked up to us and just said, "Everything is going to be okay." He then walked past us and vanished. My friend just stood there speechless and in shock.
Alright, well.
When I asked him if he knew that man, he said,
It was a waste.
"Yes, he's my uncle, but he died 2 years ago." As a young man while in the military, I was stationed at Subic.
Just a waste of time. We'll go for a little cruise and see if I find anybody through it, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing it. I thought we had a guy sweeping, but he's got to go to a meeting, so I'll just do a random cut through the ocean here and see if we find anything.
Very dangerous. They're similar to human-shaped shadows, but these have glowing red or yellow eyes. And this creature will speak to you, taunt you, and threaten you and your family. Sometimes the room will smell like sulfur, and often this entity will grab you or even try to strangle you. A more specific shadow person is called the Old Hag.
I wonder if he's going to tell his story. I think it's this type of thing that happened to him.
Cultures would consider a typical witch. The Old Hag will paralyze you, climb on top of you, and sometimes try to choke you. And this is another shadow being that you can physically feel. My wife and I are on vacation in the mountains. In the middle of our first night, I woke up to the sound of whispering coming from a corner of the room. I turned to look and realized I couldn't move. Then I heard footsteps on the carpet, like the sound of feet dragging. Starting to get scared, I desperately tried to move, but I still couldn't.
I'm gonna sneeze.
I tried to wake up my wife, but I couldn't speak. Then I felt something sit on the side of my bed. I still couldn't move, but I felt an ice-cold hand on my face and fingers running through my hair. Then I felt hot breath in my ear and a raspy voice whispered, "Shh." Well, that put me in full-blown panic, but I was still paralyzed. Then I saw it.
Cat baited me.
It was an old woman who looked like a witch. She climbed on top of me and smiled this
Alright, I'm gonna go the other way.
smile. All I could hear was her heavy breath and the sound of my heart pumping through my ears. While holding me down, she started tearing at my clothes. I don't want to get too graphic, but she was violating. As the terror rose, I fought and fought against her, but this just made her laugh. Finally,
Is he saying that he got
she was gone.
molested by a shadow lady?
I stayed the next 2 nights on the couch and didn't even go into the bedroom. I was so shaken by the encounter that we ended our trip early. I don't believe in ghosts, and I'm not sure I believe in shadow people, but what happened to me felt real. To this day, I've never been more frightened in my life. Then there's a shadow person.
I mean, that would be an intense situation to be in. If you couldn't see anything and you couldn't move and you could just feel it, like that would be weird. I mean, I would probably chalk that up to just like a moment of like psychosis, like your brain has just convinced you that something like that is happening, and you know, your
place in 2003.
You're like manifesting it more or less, I guess.
I had the
But
single most terrifying experience of my life.
it would still be
I was
wild.
asleep in my room when I suddenly woke up paralyzed and sensing an unease in the room. Despite being awake, I was unable to move any part of my body except for my eyes. I knew I was awake because I can hear the TV that had been left on in the upstairs living room directly above me. As I scanned the room, I noticed movement to my right in the corner of the room. The figure seemed to appear from the shadows, standing as tall as my ceiling, menacingly hunched over. It had no noticeable features like eyes or a mouth. The figure was dressed in a tall top hat and slowly floated towards me, its fingers
I
stretching
feel
and seeming to grow
as stupid as it sounds, because obviously the whole situation would be terrifying. I'm pretty sure if the shadow person that came to terrorize me was wearing a top hat, I would probably have a chuckle first. I mean, and then maybe get gutted like a fish, but I would probably have a sick hat, bud.
And I felt a visceral
You know,
sense
kind of
of
moment.
evil emanating from the figure, a feeling that I had never experienced before and have not felt since. Despite the fear that gripped me, I was also terrified by the intensity of the movement and the eerie, unnatural movement of the shadowy figure. Only when the fear became overwhelmingly intense did I finally snap out of the paralysis. I am a logical, reasonable person, and I did not believe in the paranormal. That is why, after the initial terror left me, I found the whole experience to be rather entertaining. I mean, the top hat was just ridiculous. I never once believed that my experience was real.
The top hat was just ridiculous.
Waking dream. It wasn't until several years later, when I was watching a documentary on Netflix called The Nightmare, that I started to feel like maybe it wasn't just a hallucination I experienced all those years earlier.
Blood and Mandrake mainly, right?
Someone was recounting their paralysis experience, and they showed a sketch of what they had experienced. To my shock and disbelief, this sketch was the exact same Hat-Man figure that I had seen nearly 10 years earlier.
That is one of the crazier things, right? Is people, and I mean, there's lots of it. I mean, it's the trouble is it gets worse, like harder to prove the more people talk about it. But like, could you imagine having this random thing, not telling a soul about it, and then finding out way later that somebody else had an identical experience that was like that? That would be a wee bit on the scurry side, I would think.
The Hat-Man is a type of shadow being, but he has some traits that make him unique. Obviously, the most notable feature of the Hat-Man shadow entity is his hat.
Oh, is it? It's not his button-down cardigan sweater.
The type of hat varies by culture. Some say it's a fedora like Freddy Krueger. Some say it's a top hat. In South America, they say he wears a gaucho hat. But regardless of fedoras, it's always wide-brimmed. Sometimes the Hat-Man has glowing eyes. Witnesses say he wears a cloak or a trench coat. He's always tall. Sometimes he stands over 10 feet high. One thing everyone agrees on, seeing the Hat-Man is bad news.
We were living in a house where a lady hung herself in the rafters of the living room. Upstairs was condemned. Used to be 2 apartments. There was so much activity up there, you would have thought the apartments were occupied.
Upstairs
Once the
were
landlord
condemned.
came to fix a leak from up there, I told him about the activity. He said, no way anyone is up there. It's locked. It's impossible. I told him there's constant walking around, constant banging, like someone is moving furniture. A couple of days later, my wife and I started hearing the sound of one of those springy things that stop the door from hitting the wall. Just over and over again. Brown, brown. And it's right behind our door. We open the door and the noise is still happening. But there's no springy thing. Nowhere for the noise to be coming from. But it's still happening. We looked at each other baffled. After 2 minutes of the noise, it stops. The broom is leaning behind the bunk bed and it flies out and falls over. The dog is spooked, and right then the trash can
The
slides
dog
down
is
5
spooked.
feet, stopping right before the dog. He freaks and he's ready to get out of the room. Later in the night, our 3-year-old daughter wants to sleep with us. She's in the middle of my wife and I, and at exactly 3 a.m. I'm woken up, and standing over me is the tallest shadow person I've ever seen.
Thought he was gonna say that was his daughter.
And he was hunched over, staring directly at me. He had
You know, a little
top hat
weirdo.
on, and you can see the white in his eyes. And he grinned, and I saw white in his mouth, like teeth. So naturally covered my head and grabbed my baby girl and wife. Looked about 3 to 4 minutes
Naturally.
later, and he was gone. Scared.
Because that'll stop him.
The Hat Man can create or is attracted to negative energy. Bad luck, illness, even death follow the Hat Man.
If that were true, I would have probably seen this friggin' thing about 1,000 times at this point, so since I haven't, it must not be attracted to bad luck or bad energy.
I never heard about the Hat Man or shadow people, and I thought I was seeing things, or that it was because I had taken a sleeping pill.
I feel like I've been friggin' 1,300 XP for... Well, this guy's almost dead.
Shut up and go to sleep. That should tell you how concerned about it we were. I eventually went to sleep and thought nothing else about it. My boyfriend died in his sleep later that year. It was within a few months of this happening.
Sometimes the Hat Man brings visions of a future apocalypse. Some people who've seen him said he showed them a dark future.
No!
Nuclear war, worldwide disease, and famine. The Hat Man sometimes gets attached to entire families.
You think this guy will res me?
Help! And once he latches on, it's almost impossible to get rid of him. Some people even see him away from their homes and in daylight.
This happened to me
Stupid.
10 years ago when I was a teenager.
Stupid.
Then a sense of dread and downright paralysis came over me, and I was compelled to look at the kitchen door. Right there, I can clearly see the shadow of a man with a hat and glowing yellow eyes. I could only watch, not being able to move a muscle. His face was practically a shadow, but I felt him smile in a condescending manner. And just like that, he rounded the corner and disappeared. I'm 100% sure of what I saw. My case cannot be discounted as sleep paralysis because I was wide awake. It was broad daylight around 2 or 3 p.m.
So who is the Hat Man? What are shadow people? Some say ghosts. Some say they're from another time or another dimension. Others say they're from another planet.
Another planet? Oh, that took a turn.
There is no consensus among paranormal researchers as to what shadow people are, but the theories are interesting. The obvious theory is that shadow people are ghosts, and when they appear, it's a kind of haunting. But ghosts typically reveal themselves as light or energy, not shadow. And ghosts usually have defined features and clothing, so I don't think that's right. Another theory is that the shadows are astral projections.
Alright, how do I loot everything here that I need to? Is it even possible?
I disagree with this one too. People who report seeing astral bodies or astral projections describe them more like ghosts than shadows. Astral projections usually have features and are usually light, not
Oh, I can.
dark. A very interesting theory is that shadow people are interdimensional travelers. Maybe the shadows are actually people from other dimensions or realities and are here to observe. Maybe the shadow person you see is actually you from another dimension or another timeline. A common theory is that shadow people are demons. Christians who see the Hat Man have no doubt.
Turning on my aspect interrupted my spell.
And there's everybody's favorite theory, that shadow people are aliens. There are many shadow people encounters where the entity has large eyes and a small mouth. Some people who've seen this type of shadow being say once they
Alright, a little quick reset here. Oh, I understand. That's why that's happening. Couldn't figure it out, but I got it now. No, it's not. I don't have Dota. It's not listed as Dota, is it?
On their experiment. Or maybe abductions begin with the alien emerging from the shadows to take them away. Alien abductees sometimes report shadow people as being blue shadows.
Oh, I have it in Ultimo.
And blue shadows are seen outside just as often as they're seen inside.
Why are you like
People
that?
believe the aliens are using a cloaking device or other technology that gives
Don't
them
mess
shadowy
with me. It's too
appearance.
easy.
This technology also helps them walk through walls or disappear
Saddle back.
completely.
Take this.
Encounters with shadow people feel so real that those who see them question their own sanity. This is why many, if not most, shadow being encounters go unreported. The big question is there a logical, rational, scientific explanation for shadow people? Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. We usually think
How's it going, my Dane? I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
Two distinct and clearly defined states, and usually they are. But inside your brain, that line can be a bit blurry. When you're dreaming, most of your brain thinks you're awake. If you're dreaming that you're running, playing a sport, or any physical activity, your brain thinks this is really happening.
Good, buddy, good.
And your
Good to hear it.
muscles want to engage with whatever you're dreaming about. Obviously, trying to slay a dragon full of orcs while you're tucked in next to the wife would be a problem.
Go ahead and tell him you're speaking from personal experience.
I don't want to talk about it.
You know, wearing all that armor to bed isn't helping your sex life.
I said leave it alone.
And it's beyond me how anyone can sleep in a wooden codpiece.
Okay, that's enough. So while you dream, your brain switches off your muscles. This is called muscle atonia. Involuntary muscles still work, breathing, heartbeat, digestion, peristalsis, but voluntary motor functions are shut down. This shutdown occurs during hypnagogia, the transition from wakefulness to sleep. During hypnopompia, the transition to being awake, your muscles are turned back on. You're asleep
15
during this
more
process,
K
so
for
you
the
don't notice it.
society.
But
Not
sometimes
bad,
the
not
brain's
bad.
wires get crossed, and you're conscious while your muscles are shutting down. Have you ever been drifting off to sleep and suddenly you jerk or kick? This happens when your brain is out of sync with your sleep cycle. You slipped into a dream before your brain had a chance to completely shut down your muscles. You'll notice this happening more often when you're overtired. But sometimes your brain gets so out of sync that you can suffer from sleep paralysis. This is when you are fully conscious while your muscles are switched off.
This helm looks so good. This is definitely my favorite thing in this game for a long time.
You can't speak. All you can do is move your eyes, and sometimes you can't even do that. Sleep paralysis usually just lasts for a few seconds, but sometimes it can go on for a few minutes, and this can be terrifying. During sleep paralysis, sometimes you see and hear things that aren't there. These are hypnagogic hallucinations. And remember, even though you're awake, you're still close enough to the dream state that your brainstem can activate the dream mechanism and conjure all kinds of things. So the hallucinations can feel very real. Not only can you have visual and auditory hallucinations, you can experience somesthetic hallucinations. This is when your body can feel something that isn't there. The cherry on top of this horrible experience is the negativity that occurs. There aren't a lot of happy stories about sleep paralysis. This is because when you're sleeping, your brain has a deficit of the neurotransmitters serotonin and dopamine. This causes low mood, depression, and fear. The reason shadow people encounters sound so similar is that humans are all built pretty much the same way. It would be logical for us to hallucinate the same things. But those who believe in shadow people think there's more going on than just sleep paralysis. The encounters described are too similar. Regardless of age, religion, or culture, people see the same shadow beings. Believers say shadow entities appear while we're sleeping because that's when we're most vulnerable. So let's all hope that sleep paralysis creates shadow people, because I can think of nothing more frightening than it being the other way around.
Good point, good point.
Next up, we cover some of the most famous cases from Ed and Lorraine Warren. And the Warrens are the people that the Conjuring movies are based on. They were very famous demonologists.
Terrifying.
That spawned a $2 billion movie franchise. Now, when I started researching the episode, I was really just looking for the famous creepy stories. But I found something even creepier. The creepiest story that I found is Ed Warren.
Sounds a bit awkward.
What is it now? What in the world are you talking about?
Beaver
Bots? The business I started with the Beaver Brothers?
Oh, right. That's the business where...
These little wooden hearts and make them into pins you wear, where everyone can have a big heart on, yes.
Heart on.
What I say. Anyway, no time for chit-chat. We're adding a new service to Beaver Bots. It's called Got Wood.
What?
Got Wood.
Why would you... What?
It's called Got Wood. You give us your wood, and the Beaver Brothers will carve it into anything you like. New wood, old wood, small wood, even if you got really big wood.
Yeah, I don't think you hear yourself right now.
Nothing gets the beavers more excited than a nice thick log. Woodworking, more like wood loving. These eager beavers will munch that log to perfection. Then they'll oil it up and polish your wood.
Please stop describing this business and just call PDS debt.
Did you just woodwork your way into today's sponsor?
Why, yes.
Today's sponsor.
If you're making payments,
I go back to the lay entrance here so I don't get dropped by a respawn.
For you. PDS debt has
And I was doing so good. I hadn't died in so long on this guy. I got nuked by the friggin' mobs.
Credit cards, personal loans, collections,
Unlucky.
even medical bills. They provide a service to match you with debt solutions.
I wonder if I should just go into like one of these things and work the corner, you know?
$10,000 or more
Let's
in
do it.
eligible debt qualifies. There's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair.
I don't really know
accepted. You can save
how strong these things are, but we'll just go slow.
PDS Debt is offering our qualified viewers a free debt analysis.
And I'm sure it'll be fine,
30
right?
seconds to complete their online assessment. Head over to pdsdebt.com/files.
pdsdebt.com/files.
That's right. What was that?
The doorbell.
I know it was the doorbell.
I
It
am
sounds
not
like
doing a lot of
people in my
damage.
house. What's going on?
Oh, to get the business started, we put up flyers around the neighborhood. We said we'd polish anyone's wood for only $5. The line is all the way around the block. Talk about a crazy.
Okay, we're getting through it though.
It looks like only men now. I thought our demo would include a few more women. I think I need to do some market research, baby.
No, I think I can pretty much explain what's going on.
And none of these guys are carrying anything. I guess they all have small wood. It doesn't matter. We'll make sure they're all completely satisfied.
Do not do this in my house.
Oh, don't worry about it. We put down plastic, and we'll clean up after everybody's finished off.
Please don't.
Hey, on your way home, can you pick up a little more oil? It looks like these beavers are gonna be going all night.
I feel like they maybe went a little hard on that skit.
Ed and Lorraine Warren are maybe the most famous paranormal investigators in history. They've worked on more than 10,000 cases, some of which have been made into books and movies. The Conjuring films are based on the work of the Warrens. Today we'll look at a few of their scariest, most disturbing cases. So turn off the lights and put the little ones to bed. It's gonna get spooky.
About to get spooky.
December 1975, Amityville, New York.
Man, I'm not getting any returns.
What?
We're jumping right in with Amityville? I don't know about this. You know I don't like to be scared.
Yeah, I know, but we took a vote on the channel and most people said they wanted scary stories.
Oh, yeah, well, then they should be the ones that clean my bowl after I shit myself.
Okay, that's enough.
I'm just saying there are gonna be consequences.
December 1975, Amityville, New York. George and Kathleen Lutz were house hunting. Though the asking price of 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville was higher than their budget, at $18,000, it was a steal.
$18,000 for a house. What a world we used to live in.
23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr., also known as Butch,
Wild.
on November 13th at 3:15 a.m., he slowly and systematically went bedroom to bedroom and murdered his entire family. Butch DeFeo's father, mother, 2 sisters, and 2 brothers were all shot with a .35 caliber rifle while they slept. Butch claimed he heard voices urging him to kill. His attorney, William Weber, tried the insanity defense, but it didn't work. In November 1975, Butch was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences. 1 month later, George and Kathleen Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved in to the DeFeo house. The Lutzes weren't that religious, but they asked a local priest to bless the house. While the family was unpacking, Father Pecoraro was in an upstairs room praying. As soon as he splashed holy water, the priest heard a voice that said, "Get out." Father Pecoraro didn't tell the Lutzes specifically what happened,
Terrifying.
but he warned them not to use that second floor room for a bedroom and stay out of the room altogether.
Ayo, I think that's the first,
They wish they did.
like, rare thing I've gotten.
Within a few days, the Lutzes noticed strange activity.
Rare loot.
At first, it was just sounds.
Ooh.
Doors slamming, footsteps.
I really
strange
don't know
rumbling.
my way around
Then the
here. I should
house
probably be a
wouldn't
little
get
bit more careful.
No matter how high they turned up the heat. So they kept a fire going day and night. George sometimes saw demonic faces in the fire. Missy Lutz, then 5 years old, started talking about an imaginary friend named Jody. Green slime was found oozing from the walls and through keyholes. Doors and windows were found suddenly damaged. One night, George saw his wife Kathy transform into an old woman who looked like a witch. He saw hoof prints in the snow leading into their house. George would wake up at 3:15 every morning, the same time the DeFeo family was killed. One night, he heard his children's bed slamming
Oh, I
up
thought
and down
that was the
floor,
enemy right
but he
there.
couldn't do anything about it because he was
They did hit me with
paralyzed
it.
in bed by an unseen force. Later that night, he saw his wife levitating and moving across the bed. The next morning, after only 28 days, the Lutzes had enough.
It's a friggin' 40 damage bleed.
Belongings and moved in with friends. And that's when they brought
You're
in
gonna
the
have to chill
Warrens.
out.
On March 6th,
Oh.
Ed and Lorraine Warren conducted a seance in the house with several psychics. Lorraine, a clairvoyant, said she encountered Butch's spirit.
That's a
during
bad
the
idea, that's a bad
seance
idea.
And felt what she described as an overwhelming feeling of horrible depression.
The inhuman, the diabolical, are attracted to where tragedies occur, just like a moth would be attracted to a light. And when the Lutz family moved in,
Maybe this isn't such a good idea. This was not the room I was hoping I was gonna get, that's for sure.
Some of the furniture that was in there.
Ed Warren said the house was possessed by demons. The psychic team took a series of time-lapse photos of the upstairs landing. None of the photographs showed anything out of the ordinary, except one. Keep in mind that Butch DeFeo's little brother John was only 9 years old on the night he was killed. The photo shows, peering out from one of the bedrooms, a little boy with glowing eyes. After the Lutzes moved out of the house, things returned to normal. 2 years later, they would tell their story to author Jay Anson, who released the book, The Amityville Horror. The book was an instant sensation, selling over 6 million copies.
6 million?
Even more notoriety in 1979
What
when
the
the movie Amityville Horror hit theaters. Since then, 12 books and a total of 28 films have been inspired by the story. Today, the Amityville house looks much like it did in the 70s. After all this time, it's still one of the most famous and frightening houses in the country, and maybe the world. In 1970, Donna, a nursing student, received a gift from her mother for her 28th birthday, a Raggedy Ann doll. Donna loved the doll and took it back to her house that she shared with another young nurse named Angie. The person in the house was sitting up on the couch, but Donna and Angie noticed the doll would be found in different rooms.
All good.
Donna would set her on the living room couch before she left work. She'd come home and the doll was in her room with the door shut. Then Donna and Angie started finding notes around the apartment. They were written in child's handwriting and said, "Help me." And the notes were written on parchment paper that they didn't have in the house. One day they came home and the doll had moved again. But this time it had a sticky red substance on its hands that appeared to be blood. Within a few hours, the red substance was gone.
Ow.
Angie's boyfriend Lou said the doll gave him a creepy feeling and told him to get rid of it. They wouldn't. That night, while Lou was sleeping, he heard a noise in the room, like someone was walking around. Then he felt something on the bed. He looked up and said the doll was quickly crawling on the bed on his body. He went to yell, but the doll covered his mouth and choked him until he passed out. The next morning, he tried to convince himself that it was all a dream, but he couldn't.
What is going on? I am flame striking the shit out of this thing. Not much is happening.
They contacted a local medium for help. The medium held a seance and told the women that the doll was possessed by a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. They later found out the body of the young girl was found on the property years earlier.
It has so much magic resist, I guess.
The medium told the girls that the doll, who they now called Annabelle, just wanted someone to play with and someone to love and care for her. Annabelle asked permission to stay in the doll and live with the young nurses.
The young nurses said no, they got rid of the doll, the end.
Nope, they kept it.
I was afraid you'd say that.
They felt bad for Annabelle and agreed to let her stay in the doll and they would take care of her. That turned out to be a terrible mistake. After the meeting left, Angie and Donna explained the story to Lou to try to get him to come around. He said the story just made it worse. Get rid of the doll. They still said no.
Oh no.
Over the next days and weeks, the strange activity.
Am I getting blasted again? Oh yeah.
In the middle of the night, Annabelle moving from room to room, and now the notes changed from "help me" to "help Lou." One day, Lou was helping Donna and Angie pack for a road trip. He saw that Annabelle looked like she was just thrown onto the floor, so he went over to pick her up, and then he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down and saw blood seeping through his shirt. Underneath, he had 7 long, bloody scratches in the shape of the mark of the beast. Within a few days, the marks disappeared like they were never there.
Maybe the beast uses Neosporin.
Please, no one-liners when I'm trying to be scary.
I'm just trying to keep it light. Alright, go ahead.
Finally, Angie and Donna agreed to do something. They called the
I don't think one flame strike or even, you know, couple is going to do this.
Oh, I did, okay. The only layperson recognized by the church as a demonologist.
Yeah, that was a legit battle. I'm going to check that weapon, see if it's any good.
Ed and Lorraine explained that the doll was not possessed by a little girl, but possessed by a demon.
Still have 3 more K to go in this dungeon. Can't tell if this is faster or slower. It feels slower.
Agreed to take the doll and put it somewhere the demon couldn't escape. So Ed put Annabelle in the back seat of the car. He suggested that they don't take freeways home, and he was right. Several times on the drive, the car tried to run itself off the road, and the brakes would give out, come back, and then give out again. Ed turned around and splashed holy water on Annabelle, and after that, the car worked fine. Even after they got Annabelle home, it continued to torment and terrorize. It would move around the house, and at some point, Ed found the doll levitating near his desk.
What the f? Could you imagine seeing a floating doll?
Annabelle. He mocked the doll and said, "You're just a doll, you can't hurt anyone."
Bad move, Padre.
Well, on his way home, his brakes gave out and the priest was killed. Several people
There
who
you go.
mocked Annabelle ended up in car
Joe
wrecks
Jew.
soon after. Finally,
What
the
happened?
Warrens put
Like,
Annabelle in
I
a
feel like
glass
my
case.
damage has turned to
The case
nothing
is a
all
note
of a
that
sudden.
ominously
And I don't know
says,
why.
Positively do not open. Today, Annabelle still
Still
sits
my
in a
corpse
glass
skin
case
on.
at the
Is
Occult
still
Museum in
this
the
thing is
Warrens'
death
house.
aspected.
Ghost hunters, mediums, and psychics still visit Annabelle to this day. All report feeling a dark, negative energy coming from the doll.
I don't know why.
But nobody opens the case, and everyone treats her with respect.
No. Stop attacking me.
When The Conjuring was released in 2013, it was praised not just for being extremely scary.
There we go, that's
but
better.
for
Those things
feeling
must
like a
just
true
have
story.
magic, high magic resist.
It is. In January 1971, the Perrin family moved into an old farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Almost immediately, Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters saw strange things happening. Like most of these stories, the first activity was so small that it would go unnoticed, like things being out of place. Carolyn would notice that her broom would never be in the same place she left it. Then the noises started. Loud thuds, footsteps, and the sounds of people moving around in the kitchen. One day, Carolyn found muddy footprints and small piles of dirt on her freshly washed kitchen floor.
Shit.
Then the girls started seeing
Maybe
spirits
it'll walk
around
back
the
to me.
house. Most of the spirits ignored the girls, but a few didn't. And all those spirits were angry.
I can't believe there's not more ocean stuff going on. I was just kind of chilling this morning, like getting everything ready to go, and it just everybody was finding people or stuff was happening. So I was like, I kind of hustled to get streaming, and now there hasn't been a thing.
Which makes sense.
Nothing.
The house was built in 1736. Ghosts also appeared sitting at their dining room table, and some seemed to be aware that the Perrins were there. The ghost pointed at them and then vanished. Other ghosts ignored them before disappearing. So Carolyn researched the history of the house and discovered it had been in the Arnold family for generations.
Yeah,
She thought the man
I don't think so. I got pretty worked on whatever day it was, Tuesday there. I streamed for a good bit, but I was playing with Trome a lot, so I just, because Trome watches the stream and I wasn't in comms, I just set everything to him through the stream, and we launched one time to go for a sweep from the guild house, and I had set it like 10 minutes before. I was like, well, when we're done, farming, we'll go for a little quick sweep. We'll leave from the guild house, blah blah blah. We left from the guild house, and we got jumped by like, I don't know, 5 or 6 GG, like, or not GG, Mega immediately. It was pretty fun. Sometimes it just happens. The great guy.
The cause of death was determined to be a sewing needle that impaled the baby's skull.
It happens.
Locals believe that this was an offering to the devil, but Bathsheba was never convicted of any wrongdoing. When Bathsheba died, legend says she turned to stone. The parents said that at 5:15 every morning, there would be the smell of rotten flesh in the house, and the air would become terribly cold and the heat wouldn't work. One especially scary night, Roger Perrin's bed was lifted into the air and dropped. Soon, Carolyn started feeling like Bathsheba was trying to make her kill her children the way Bathsheba killed hers. That's when the Perrins called Ed and Lorraine Warren for help. The Warrens spent a few hours walking the house and talking to the Perrins. Then they performed a seance against Roger Perrin's wishes. Here's Roger in his own words.
The Warrens came over and they did the seance in the house. That was not a good thing. I was against it, but they did it anyway. And 3 to 5 minutes into the seance, and my wife got all, her whole body went out of shape, and it was like an extortion. Somebody was squeezing her, and her chair got off the floor and came right into me into the next room. And I tried to help her. She was completely out of this world at that point, speaking crazy words.
What in the world?
I tried to help her.
At that point, Roger had seen enough. He actually punched Ed in the mouth and threw the Warrens out of the house and told them never to return. But soon after the seance, the haunting stopped.
Interesting. So you just gotta, the trick is you just gotta go through it.
This is considered one of the events that proves
Gotta tell them ghosts to get out.
Peggy Hodgson had just put her children to bed when she heard the
No.
sound of a chair being dragged across the bedroom floor. Peggy went into the room and her daughters were under their blankets, terrified.
Why, is that not okay? That's a bad way to do it?
They said the chair moved on its own. So Peggy turned out the lights and then heard the sound of scraping. When she turned the lights back on, she saw a dresser slide 18 inches across the floor.
You ever think of just being like, hey, this is probably,
she tried to push
should probably do it this way, it'll look better or something? Not just,
Peggy called her neighbors
it
over
works.
to
How
make
am I
sure she
supposed to know the
wasn't going
difference?
crazy. The neighbors also heard the sounds. Peggy finally called the police. One of the responding officers said she heard knocking or tapping and saw the chair wobble. Then she saw the chair slide across the floor about 3 feet. This is in the official police report. But the police said there's no crime, so there's nothing they can do. After a couple of months, everyone in the house was sleeping in the same room. And then the activity got worse. Voices of an old man started coming.
Maybe people want to see what it is and see the title and stuff, so they can go check it out themselves.
Oh, Patch, go ahead, Patch. You got something to say.
Yeah. I noticed how you bashing Janet's vocal cords with decent phone for half a minute. I get a sore throat. Those chases.
Peggy didn't know where to turn, so she went to the media. Soon reporters and paranormal investigators descended on
I was joking.
Test. There are photos of Janet being levitated out of bed. There's video of knocking sounds responding to questions from mediums. Guy Playfair was a writer and parapsychologist with the Society for Psychical Research. He spent a great deal of time with the family. He witnessed a lot of poltergeist activity with his own eyes. By 1978, the Enfield poltergeist attracted the attention of Ed and Lorraine Warren. At this point in time, the Warrens were icons in paranormal research. They flew to London to investigate. Ed Warren was convinced there was a demonic presence. The voice coming from Janet said its name was...
I think I'm going to finish this because I'm almost done, and then I'm going to go hit the washroom real quick, and then I'll probably just like launch my boat and just float around
all of that was true.
for in uno momento a little bit, and then we'll decide on what dungeon I do next.
Whose father Bill was buried in a nearby cemetery and had lived at the house before the Hodgsons moved in.
I had an average, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair, in a room downstairs.
Astonishingly, the voice had described the precise circumstances of Bill Wilkins' death.
They described exactly what happened. He died in the chair, down in the living room.
In all, there were more than 30 witnesses who saw furniture moving, objects flying around, cold breezes, physical assaults, pools of water appearing on the floor, graffiti, and matches spontaneously igniting. The Enfield poltergeist tortured Peggy, Janet, and the entire family for 18 months. It almost ruined their lives. Then, as quickly as it started, it stopped.
I would have died there for sure. My mom would have killed me if I didn't check. I would have been dead.
Lived in upstate New York, but found themselves traveling to Connecticut a lot. Philip, eldest son of Carmen and Alan Snedeker, had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and his hospital was in Connecticut. In 1986, Carmen and Alan had had enough of the commute and decided to rent something near the UConn
Hodgkin's
hospital.
lymphoma. That's what my brother had.
And 2 of their nieces and moved to a spacious duplex on a quiet street in Southington, Connecticut. As soon as they moved in, Alan began renovations on the basement to make a bedroom for Philip. While cleaning out some rusty tools and other basement junk, he found an old piece of equipment he didn't recognize. It looked like a pump with a couple of old tubes coming out of it. Turns out, it was embalming equipment.
For
corpses.
For? What do you mean?
He found
What else
2
do you
rooms.
embalm?
One was the embalming room, complete with equipment and rusty floor drains. The other
Does
room
anything
was a
else get
casket
embalmed?
display
It's
room.
not, right? You don't
The
really embalm
Snedekers
your
now
pets.
realized
anything.
why the rent was so low on such a big house. It used to be a funeral home. The Hallahan Funeral Home, to be exact. Philip's bedroom would be the former casket room. And almost immediately, he heard strange sounds and voices. He saw
I mean,
dark
funeral
figures
homes are
moving
usually a
in
pretty
shadow.
cool design.
He
I
saw
wouldn't
a
mind
man
living in
with
one of
white
those.
hair and a pinstripe suit. One night, he saw bodies stacked up against the wall. Philip was so frightened, he asked to sleep in the hospital, which his parents didn't allow. Carmen thought Philip was hallucinating because of his cancer medication. But then everyone started seeing and hearing things.
How many bodies passed through that house over the years?
Well, it was a funeral home for a few decades, so...
Thousands of bodies.
Thousands of bodies.
The Snedekers knew they had ghosts. At first, the ghosts just
Alright,
made
time to
sounds
go.
and moved things
That's
around
enough
the house.
dings.
They would find light bulbs unscrewed from their sockets, but still somehow emitted light. And all through the house was the smell of feces and decay. It became unbearable. The entire family was terrified. And just when they couldn't take it anymore, the ghosts became violent. What began as strange sounds, smells, and visions of spirits soon became much more. The spirits became physically violent. One night, both Carmen and her niece Tammy had a terrifying encounter. Carmen woke up and felt a dark.
Man, I was almost done and I ran
Couldn't
out.
see
Son
anything,
of a.
but she felt
Okay,
cold
I
hands
gotta
reaching
go.
under her pajamas
I think it
and
was the. I'll
grabbing
be right
her
back. 2
underwear.
seconds.
Then she heard an evil laugh. Carmen's niece had the same exact encounter, but she was scared. Whoa, what was that?
No, you can't say here. We'll get demonetized again.
Oh, we don't want that.
No, we don't. So we'll censor it, and the grown-ups out there can fill in the blanks.
Good thinking. Eventually, both Carmen and her husband Alan were scared by the entity multiple times. One night, Carmen finally saw the ghosts. One had long white hair and white eyes. The other had black hair and black eyes. That's when they called Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens and their team of investigators spent 9 weeks in the Snedeker house. And during that time, they saw everything the Snedekers reported. Members of the team were pushed, slapped, even knocked to the ground. Ed and Lorraine searched the history of the home. They discovered that one of the morticians who worked there was a necrophiliac.
Definition?
Oh, he had a thing for corpses.
Worst hobby ever.
Ed said that the spirit infused the home with evil. The Warrens felt that an exorcism would work, and after the house was cleansed, the Snedekers moved out. Then the Warrens hired author Ray Garton to document everything that happened in the house. The documentation of these events became the book In a Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting. The Snedeker case was also made into the movie The Haunting in Connecticut, released in 2009. Since the Snedekers moved out, nobody has reported anything strange in the house since. And the owner makes sure to tell all renters that it was once a funeral home, and that the renters should keep that in mind before they sign the lease. Ed and Lorraine Warren are possibly the most successful paranormal investigators in history. They've written or contributed to at least 30 books about their cases. Their work has inspired the movies in the Conjuring universe, a film franchise worth over $2 billion.
$2 billion is what the Conjuring is worth?
With many skeptics calling them outright frauds and grifters.
$2 billion?
So, what's the truth? Well, Ed and Lorraine Warren met when they were 16 years old at a local movie theater. Their conversation soon moved to the paranormal. Ed believes he grew up in a haunted house, and Lorraine claimed to be clairvoyant. They were married when they were 19 when Ed was on leave from the army. They soon made their livings as artists. They would go to houses that they believed were haunted, paint them, and then try to sell the painting to the owner.
Oof, that's a rough racket.
It was. So Ed supplemented their income
That sounds
Though they were making a name for themselves
weird.
locally as paranormal investigators,
Okay, did I miss anything?
Their breakthrough came in 1979 with the Amityville horror case. When the Warrens arrived in Amityville, they brought an entire film crew with them. Unfortunately, the film crew didn't capture anything except for the moanings of a few psychics.
Yeah, I'm the ghost boy.
Right, the ghost boy on top of the stairs. Yeah, that's a creepy photo. It's actually a photograph of Paul Bartz.
Oh, the mall cop?
No, Paul Bartz was one of the investigators. He doesn't.
Does it just ID when I put it in there? Oh, no. I just clicked a bunch. So it was only a force, durable force flame. Okay. I thought maybe that room might, pop out banks or something. Have a good possibility of something decent.
Bless the house, which he did.
Not good.
He also said there was nothing strange about the house. It was a peaceful and lovely home. Other parts of the story are also a little sketchy. The Lutzes couldn't have seen hoof prints in the snow because there was no snow at that time. And all the damage that supposedly happened to the house didn't. Doors, windows, the entire house was in perfect shape when they moved in and when they left. The Amityville story was actually created by Butch DeFeo's lawyer, William
Those
Weber,
are
and the Lutz family.
some pretty big holes in the story. It's credibility.
Weber wanted an insanity verdict for Butch DeFeo. He was also working on a book deal. The Lutzes were struggling financially, and they liked the sound of a book deal.
Hey, we did it.
4 bottles of wine, their meeting turned into a creative writing session. But the Lutzes didn't like their cut of Weber's book deal. Author Jay Anson offered the Lutzes 50-50. That they liked. And with millions of books selling like crazy and movie offers coming at them, it was in their financial interest to stick with the story. The Amityville horror story is definitely debunked. The next case we talked about was
debunked.
The Possessed
See?
Doll. This story is easier to track. It's basically a retelling, beat for beat, of the Twilight Zone episode Living Doll, which aired in 1963 on CBS.
Oh, this is getting debunked too.
Eric Streeter is upset when his wife comes home with her daughter Christy, having bought her yet another doll. Christy loves her new talking Tina doll, but her stepfather takes an immediate dislike to it. Anytime he is alone with the doll,
Tina.
it spouts abusive comments to the effect that it hates him and that it's going to kill him.
My name is Eric Streeter.
What an angry doll.
I want to get rid of you.
You wouldn't dare.
It's a great episode, and every Twilight Zone fan knows it. Ed and Lorraine were apparently fans of the show too and co-opted the story. Still not convinced? The mother's name in the Twilight Zone episode was
Inferno.
Annabelle. We can call that one debunked. Now, how
Debunked.
about Bathsheba Sherman, the witch that tormented the Perrons as portrayed in The Conjuring? When The Conjuring was released in 2013, the owner of the house at the time, Norma Sutcliffe, was tortured.
By the witch.
What did we say? Inferno and what?
She released a video that year complaining about how her property was descended upon by horror fans. At all hours, day or night, there would be people in her yard, exploring the barn on her property, and even sticking cameras and phones through her window.
I didn't know
She
that
was
was a thing.
furious. She even sued Warner Brothers over this. In her video,
150. I don't know if I want to do that. We'll
Bathsheba was a real person.
start with
but
this
that's about
Inferno, I
all the
guess.
story gets right. She never lived in that house, never killed anyone. By all accounts, she was a lovely woman. She died peacefully at the age of 73.
So, very little murdering of children.
Very little. None, actually. Her last act before she died was to provide for her grandchildren's education. Normally,
Oh, he's trying to get societies done.
She said nothing
Boo,
had
yeah,
happened
alright.
in the house before.
You know
or
what?
since. Now, maybe
Let's-
Norma Sutcliffe just got lucky.
Just
and
'cause
the
I feel
house
like it.
was haunted when the parents were there. Maybe they got a few juicy book deals and a movie out of the story. So they said and continue to say their story is true. Oh, the Perrons didn't reach out to Ed and Lorraine Warren for help. The Warrens just showed up. That's something they
The
did.
Warrens just
They
showed up.
left when Mr. Perron punched Ed in the mouth. So Bathsheba Sherman and The Conjuring?
Let's
Debunked.
go
The Snedeker's case
to
is another
Kev.
one that doesn't make the Warrens look good. Ray Garton, the author that Ed Warren hired, really struggled writing the book.
It was difficult with the family involved. They were going through some.
Oh, you know what I
serious
forgot?
problems like alcoholism
Is that I
and
can't
drug
even go
addiction.
into
They could
dungeons
not keep
anymore
their
when I
stories
get
straight. It became very frustrating.
banned from them, right?
It's
Not even on my
heartbreaking
PBMer,
non-fiction
so I have
book
to be
when all
careful
the
what
people
dungeons I
involved
PK
are
in.
telling you different stories.
When Garton told Ed Warren about this, Ed said, "Oh, they're
Oh?
crazy. Only crazy people call us."
I looked like it was triggered on
Garton asked
something.
what he's supposed to do about the book. Ed says, "Use what works and just make the rest up. Just make it scary." And this was not the first time Ed Warren hired a horror writer for help. Not a journalist, not a biographer.
Sounding
a horror
debunked.
fiction
This
writer.
one too.
Also, what's not widely reported is that Philip, their son with cancer, was caught touching and trying to rape his cousins. He even got pretty close once.
Oh.
This took him to a mental hospital where he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
That took a bit of a turn.
Schizophrenia could certainly explain why he was seeing and hearing things.
Yeah, but it wouldn't explain why everyone else was.
No, but the Snedekers lived in the house for 2 years without an incident. But after they got behind on the rent and their landlady had begun eviction proceedings, suddenly the house was haunted. Also, their story
Makes
has
sense.
a lot of
Makes
details that
sense.
sound like the movie The Entity, which was popular and super scary. What's also not widely reported is that the family dealt with alcoholism and drug addiction, which makes everything worse. In fact, Ray Garton
Starting to
said
get a little
the woman
sketchy.
who's working on the book, he
The
never
credibility of
actually
these
saw
people and
Philip.
their
The
poltergeists are
Snedekers
starting
never
to
mentioned what kind of cancer he
sound a
had.
little bit. Oh,
They
do I have
speak to
tracking
Philip on the
still?
phone, and Philip told him that when he stayed on his medication, the ghost stopped. Then Philip's mother quickly ended the call. Ray Garton and some of the Snedekers' neighbors suspected the family might have been using cancer as a cover story for Philip's mental health problems and drug addiction. And despite their claims, they were fully aware that the house was a funeral home. And there was a tenant living in the upstairs apartment who never saw or heard anything. The Snedekers' neighbors, their landlady, even the person writing the book about the case, all said the story was
No way, right?
This one is safely debunked.
They both just whacked me a million times through that.
We know at least some of the story was a hoax because Janet admitted to it, and the kids were caught multiple times faking so-called paranormal incidents. And people say the voice was coming from her without her mouth moving, but there's plenty of video of her mouth moving. The photo of Janet levitating.
I just needed to get one more. Oh, this is coming from me.
looks a lot like her jumping
I just
off.
needed to get one more spell off, and I
Picture was
couldn't do it.
taken with a motion-controlled camera in the girl's bedroom, so nobody else was in the room to confirm what actually happened. This was another case where the movie exaggerates the Warrens' involvement. Again, they just showed up uninvited. They stayed for a few hours, looked around, and left the following day. Ed Warren did have a chance to speak to Guy Playfair, the investigator who spent the most time with the family. Ed told Guy he could make a lot
way,
of money
right?
from this case. Guy wasn't interested, but the Warrens wrote it up anyway. They cashed in and called this another one.
Can't believe I just hit that guy for
cases.
back-to-back
Except
40s.
They didn't investigate 10,000 cases.
That
If
was
they did one case a day without a
unlucky
day off, it
by you
would take
guys.
them 27 years. So we caught Ed stretching the truth again. Speaking of,
Unlucky.
there is one true horror story here. His
Yes.
name is Ed Warren. Warner Brothers' multi-film, multi-billion-dollar Conjuring franchise follows Ed and Lorraine Warren, a devoutly religious, happily married couple.
He got caught by the chest that was here that he probably couldn't see. That is unlucky,
After the release of the first film in 2013, the studio
to say the
learned
least.
about allegations made against Ed Warren. According to Judith Penny, Ed Warren initiated
I don't really want any of that. Those guys are clearly new.
only 15. She used to take his bus and he developed feelings for her. And if that wasn't disturbing enough, soon Judith moved into the Warrens' house. Her relationship with Ed continued for over 40 years, and Lorraine knew all of this. Judith's bedroom was directly across from the Warrens. Eventually, they built an apartment for her upstairs, and according to Judith Penny's
Why are
sworn
people so
testimony,
fucking
Ed would
weird?
sleep downstairs sometimes and upstairs sometimes. Their marriage wasn't as perfect as it's been portrayed. Judith said Ed would often beat Lorraine, sometimes knocking her unconscious. She said she was worried he might kill Lorraine one day. Ed often told Judith that she was the love of his life. And in 1970,
I don't want to be here anymore. I was just joking. No. Oh, I'm dead. What did I get stuck on? What is this?
She was told a child would.
Anyone see this sweet thing here? The chest was right here, but
was working through the Warrens movie
I mean, it must just be the edge of the. Yeah, the chest is blocking me that way, but.
Now, it's not
Oh, I'm
unusual
just.
for producers to sign a non-disparagement clause when adapting a true story. Nobody wants to sell their story and then look bad. But this contract specifically said that the movies could
Oh,
not
biggie.
depict an extramarital affair, relationships with minors, and some other specific things that I won't get into here. But suffice it to say,
I gotta
the
get out of here.
descriptions were
Well, that
graphic.
didn't take long.
Now, in the Warrens' defense, they said Judith was a girl they took in for charity, and she would watch the house when they were traveling. Judy and Tony Sparrow,
Mobs are
the
still
Warrens'
too
daughter
strong.
and son-in-law, say they never saw any of the alleged conduct. The Sparrows believe Judith Penny is being manipulated, though I don't know for what purpose. She's in her 70s, married, and doesn't make any money from the films. Though Warner Brothers did offer her $150,000 for her life story.
Hush money.
Yup.
Hush
Judith
money.
says she remained friendly with Ed until his death in 2006. But despite her fondness for him, what he did was despicable and a crime. What it all comes down to is this. No case that the Warrens worked on was ever supported by any evidence besides their word. Ed claimed to have photos and video, but those were never produced. I did see one video that Ed spoke about, the ghost called the Lady in White.
I'm not gonna get there in time. I think it took me too long to launch.
Now that's a pretty compelling video. But Judith Penny said Ed told her to put on a white dress and walk around a cemetery, so she did. Now, I'm not saying ghosts aren't real and that the Warrens lied about everything. I am saying they lied about some things. And because of that, we have to question everything they say. Ed Warren was a self-proclaimed demonologist. He said that anyone who is possessed by
I'm gonna start being something self-proclaimed, I think.
eradicate it.
I want to be like a self-proclaimed rhinoceros.
Had a few demons of his own.
Just be badass, you know, have
I
armor
took a
for
lot of
skin.
heat for exposing Ed Warren like
Sweet.
that. He has a lot of fans, but that's what happened. I told the truth.
Yeah, people with skeletons in the closet shouldn't throw glass houses, huh?
Yeah, that's not how that saying goes.
People with glass stones shouldn't throw skeletons.
That's still not it.
Yeah, stone skeletons should,
Anyway. Our next episode is spook lights, or ghost lights, or orbs.
What are you blocking me for? Go the. Oh my lordy.
Will o' the Wisp, St. Elmo's Fire.
I can see a new horizon underneath the blazing sky.
Hopefully they turn.
With the eagles flying higher and higher.
Oh, look who it is. Who knew?
Ghost lights. It's a fun one. Oh no.
That was a touch random.
Freedom. Liberty.
Always nice sinking that donkey. From sea to shining sea. Yeah, poor guy.
Other candidates say they will lower taxes.
But I say April 15th, should just be another day, because taxes are theft.
Other candidates are promising to bring down grocery prices.
But I promise a crab cat in every pot, with boiling water, and corn, and a side of potatoes, and a vat of melted butter. Who else is promising you butter? Nobody.
That was,
Other candidates,
I don't know, not very fun. Peking just does not feel very good anymore.
I say we need no government at all. Just me in a big house. Preferably a White House. I'm not a politician. I'm one of you.
I'm one of you.
I'm a fish of the people. And we all want the
Alright, off to one of my favorite dungeons for a little bit. If I can find the... There it is. Oh, I think this is the bad spot, isn't it? Yep.
Even if no one's actually thinking it.
He's not a clownfish like those other candidates.
I'm a goldfish.
I'm a goldfish.
For me, you won't regret it. Show your community exactly where you stand. With me, Hecklefish J. Moriarty. Available now is the Hecklefish for President yard sign, bumper sticker, and campaign button. Or if you're feeling really patriotic, get all three in one convenient package.
Ow.
You're gonna love my package.
Hecklefish.
I don't... Oh, I do see. Shit. Okay, well, looks like... Oh, you know what? I can't really get there, can I?
Here's the scene. You're driving down a secluded road.
I'm not where I normally am.
Headlights. The only sounds you hear are crickets and the hum of the engine. Suddenly, a mysterious orb of light appears in the distance, floating a few feet above the ground. You get the sense that the light is aware of your presence. It darts around, beckoning you closer. It can't be another car.
I should have probably just walked out, actually. We gotta go to the other gate.
It vanishes.
I'm gonna go try to help with this. I can't really kill any monsters. 3 minutes is long, but it's not that long.
The waitress. She smiles and says, "You saw a ghost light." She tells you the story of someone killed on that dark road many years ago. The light has been seen ever since. Ghost lights or spook lights are seen all over the world. In some places, they're thought to be the spirits of the dead. Other places say they're portals to another dimension, and others say they're signals from another world. Whatever they are, ghost lights are real, and they've stumped scientists, skeptics, even governments for a long time. They're seen by thousands of people every year. There are even cases where people have followed a ghost light into the darkness, never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again. That's scary. I think I have to launch my other boat, because I don't think it's been 10 minutes since I brought my crew up.
1931.
Oh my god.
A quarter of a mile long was found in the small town of Gurdon, Arkansas. It led to the body of Will McLean. A railroad spike hammer and a shovel covered in blood were found near his body. It was clear that the cause of death was 4 severe blows to the head. But there was one detail of the murder that would haunt the town forever. McLean's lantern was still clutched tightly in his hand. Shortly after Will McLean's death, people started reporting seeing a strange light. The light was appearing along a 4-mile stretch of railroad track near the town. It was described as yellowish white.
Uno more minute still.
Searching the tracks with a lantern. And researchers
with the new alliance, there's quite a few of them now. Oh, more bad people out there. It's nice. I mean, it's okay when we had everybody on, but like as soon as we're missing anybody, right? It made stuff tough.
Enough to trick the mind into thinking those headlights are floating orbs.
Activity breeds activity, right? You only need not many people on for it to start feeling good, where other people are like, oh, I'll jump on too. I'll jump on too.
The light starts coming on.
But when you only have 2 or 3 active people, people are like, I'll just go sit in the corner of a dungeon, hit a mob or whatever. It's a tricky balance, this game.
Another theory is that the light is swamp gas. Gurdon Railway is surrounded by dense woods and swamps.
Oh.
Swamp gas happens in marshlands and bogs.
Baby Rita.
From decomposed
Heal.
organic matter.
Oh no, the healing's over.
That's tacky but accurate. But the Gurdon Light has been seen.
I'm coming, baby boo.
Including on windy nights, and wind prevents swamp gas from igniting.
It floats about that high up off the ground, ball of light, white ball of light. I'm not good.
Though many people have seen and photographed the Gurdon Light.
Your boat okay? No. Ah! I wouldn't have been able to get that bomb anyways.
Even if you take that dangerous walk,
I don't know if anybody knows I'm on this guy.
but there's a town that has so many ghost light sightings that they actually built a large observation deck. The lights there have been featured on countless TV shows. They've been in movies. They've inspired songs. If you want to see some of the most spectacular ghost lights in the world, you have to go to West Texas.
What do I even have? Oh, it's a brimstone. Yeah, fuck.
In 1883, Robert Reed Ellison was working on a ranch just outside the newly founded town of Marfa, Texas. One night, he saw a distant light that he thought could be from an Apache campfire or from another rancher. But there was something about the light that was strange. He tossed and turned all night, unable to shake the odd feeling that the light, whatever it was
darn it.
aware of him. The next morning, Reed went out to explore the area and found no sign of
Oh, oh no way! Yep.
Many years ago, a great battle took place between.
There it is. Get 'em, boys.
The conflict was brutal, and the death toll was in the thousands.
You don't friggin' sink Rita. Are you kidding me?
Lights we see today are
Rita, can you believe that shit?
restless warriors still wandering the desert
Oh,
trying to
one
find
more.
their way back home.
We will not let him die in vain. What do I got here? Nothing. That's unfortunate.
They hover about shoulder height off the ground and have been known to shoot around.
No, the Leo special. No.
But sometimes
Oh, guys.
they've been seen
We just got.
disappearing.
Oh,
and then
go, go,
reappearing.
go. Cammy's northwest.
They seem to move in regular patterns.
The fucking Leo special, boys. We just got Leo'd.
Many towns known for
He's the only guy that you'll ever see that will be in a long battle that'll last for a while, and he'll be the only dude that didn't use a single ability, especially not like a greater or anything.
Marfa Lights Viewing Center. There's even a
It just
Marfa
won't
Lights
happen.
festival held each September on Labor Day weekend. There's a street parade, food,
Where is he,
and live
boys?
music. But not all ghost light experiences are so positive. In fact, some are downright terrifying.
He will always save that ability to run for his life. It's just he's one of the few people ever that you'll see no matter how long the battle goes,
Located about 90
he'll still
miles
have that Sargasso sea change up, no matter what.
You'll find the Surrency lights, which are bright yellow or white orbs.
There is
of
no
light.
if.
And like the Gurdon lights, these also
Yeah, I don't think he
appear
went
in
here. I
train
think he must know that we have the assumption he's gonna go here.
Lights near train tracks is pretty common, and there are a couple of theories for this. One is that the lights are ghosts of dead
Probably
workers.
just ran in a different
In the
direction,
19th
if I had to
century,
guess,
working on a
but-
railroad required fearlessness and
We shall see.
Railway workers had long shifts.
Shouldn't have brimstoned and Salminator. Should have saved it for the inevitable Leo Sargasso sea
35
change.
Workers were injured every year. In
Unlucky.
many cases, the injuries resulted in missing limbs, and almost
Oh,
one out
yeah,
of
he's already
every
there.
100 workers died on
Almost
the
already
job.
there.
Maybe the lights seen around the tracks are spirits haunting their place of death.
Ugh, I'm not gonna get there fast enough. Oh,
Is that
maybe?
the tracks are liminal spaces.
Oof!
A liminal space is a threshold
brother!
between two worlds, existing in neither world and
You guys are
both
killing
at the
me.
same time.
Hello? Hello?
It's a place of transition, of waiting, and not knowing what's just beyond that door, or right around that corner, or just a little further down the tracks. And some believe that liminal spaces can act as portals to other dimensions, including the spirit world. The Surrency
I don't
lights
really know
are
what's
often
happening.
considered to be spirits of the dead.
I really should
because of the
jump in
town's dark
Discord for this
history.
stuff.
The town of Surrency gets its name from its founder, Alan Powell Surrency. In 1852, he built a two-story home for his family on land next to the train tracks. For the first 20 years, things were pretty normal. Things
Is
went
Al,
from
I don't know.
normal
Is Al
to
still on?
not normal. One evening, Surrency's daughter, Clementine, was waiting by the train tracks for her father to
Leo
come
must have
home.
talked, I guess.
And as the sun set, she noticed a dark figure approaching. With an uneasy feeling, she headed back home. As she reached her house, she felt a stone land near her. When she
Unlucky.
looked where the object was thrown from, the dark figure was gone.
Too good.
Quickly went inside,
Too good at
where
running.
Several of her father's friends were gathered. It
Alright,
wasn't
someone else
long
dinged
before
while I was
anyone
doing
heard what
stuff.
Clementine experienced outside. Heavy items were falling all over the property. When Clementine walked into the
Not
kitchen,
even remotely
small
close to it.
pieces of brick rained down everywhere. When her father's friends came into the kitchen to see what was happening, they
I
saw
should have went
pots
from where I was. I shouldn't have
around
docked.
and knives
I have it, Red Dot. It's on my auxiliary, so I used it. I used my brimstone instead to damage Insulminator. His crew was all busted up. Like, it did a lot of damage to him. Just, if you don't save that sea change when you're fighting GG, you're bound to find yourself in a Sargasso.
from walls. Plates, cups, books, and bottles.
Sure as time, that thing.
With violent force. Alan wrote down what he witnessed and sent a telegraph to the Savannah.
It's always made me laugh.
Who published it?
I used to have so many clips of him just fucking in like good 5-minute fights, and then he docked at the public. I would have came and murdered him if I saw. He's just always got sea change Sargasso up. Like at the end of every fight, you'll see. It'll be like a 5v5 or something like that. We'll fight, and then all of a sudden we'll sink 3 of them and have the 4th guy box, and you'll just see Leo pop by, Sargasso everybody, and then just fucking leave. I'm out! It's pretty funny. I've always thought it's fun.
The paper sent out an experienced reporter to verify the story. The reporter couldn't believe it. Clocks
You can imagine just holding your abilities all that time.
Rapidly forward and backward in time. A mirror exploded into a rain of glass, and strange noises were heard all over the house, like footsteps and banging. At night, you can hear disembodied voices, laughter, and sometimes screaming from empty rooms. Alan was a leader of the community and tried to take this all in stride, but then the house started targeting his daughter. Some unseen force would yank her covers off of her at night and pull her hair, and sometimes throw her across the room.
Creep.
At that point, Alan called it quits, and the family moved out.
They got nothing.
5 years later, Alan P. Surency passed away, and the haunting stopped.
Oh, I was supposed to post my stream actually in Discord, and I forgot.
Hovering over the train tracks near his home. All Surency residents know the story of the Surency house haunting and the Surency lights. And while the story is spooky, they'll tell you that the lights are harmless. But that isn't always the case. Some ghost lights are very, very dangerous. Worldwide, millions of people go missing every year. Some get lost and find their way back home. Others run away and don't want to be found. But there are plenty of missing persons cases that can't be explained. In Australia, almost 40,000 people are reported missing every year. That's one person every 18 minutes that just vanishes. And more than a few of these disappearances have been blamed on the Min Min lights.
The what?
I hope that wasn't a lot of stuff I should have read, but...
The Min Min lights get their name from the now abandoned settlement of Min Min, which is about 70 miles from Boolia. And Boolia is in a remote western region of Queensland, about 1,000 miles northwest of Brisbane.
We're just gonna wait to see. Somebody asked if people are on somebody.
Of Australia.
I think they're good.
And some Aboriginal people believe the Min Min lights are the spirits
of
their elders. And before the town was destroyed by a fire, it was known for being a watering hole.
Okay, back to Inferno.
Burned to the ground was the
Let's go to the
Min Min
guild house.
Hotel, which had a graveyard out back. Now, a hotel with a graveyard out back
Here's my
might
shitty
seem
room.
surprising, but Min Min wasn't your average hotel. In 1947, a daily newspaper described it.
In the old rough days, the hotel at Min Min was famed for its wild bawdiness and its gut-rotting drinks. Many a shearer with a big check drank himself to death at the infamous hotel, or was killed in a drunken brawl, or was murdered for his money. The corpses were tossed into the backyard.
It sounds like every hotel in Portland these days.
The first popular report of a Min Min light sighting was in 1918, and the story goes like this. Around midnight, a farmer shows
The
up
Min Min light sighting.
in hysterics. He's going on
You guys know
about
about
being
that?
chased by a strange light. As he was riding past the Min Min Hotel's abandoned cemetery, he saw an orb of light appear right above a grave. The light hovered for a few seconds. The farmer had the eerie feeling that the light was aware of him. Then suddenly the light shot right at the farmer. He panicked, jumped on his horse, and started riding as fast as he could.
I'd like to find a little pocket of demons if I could, and just sit and murder them for 20 minutes.
How fast he
Happy
rode,
guy.
the light kept up. It finally disappeared when he got into town. Since that
It is. I mean, depending on it's the situation, right? Like, if you think you're gonna need a sea change, like if you're running away from people or something like that, you might as well save any of your sea change and any of your slowing abilities just to try to, you know, see if you can hope to get them off you. But when you're trying to get people killed, like, I mean, saving abilities is one thing, but like the more time you spend just standing still attacking somebody, like they can whittle your boat down, someone else can show up. It's just like you kind of want to nuke people, I think, as fast as you can, in my opinion. But hey, B-Jax with the gifted sub. Thank you very much. The JLC Zinho. Thank you very much for gifting. I appreciate that.
Other times it tries to get people to follow it.
It was terrifying to see it coming toward you. But you come up close and
I really should grab a scroll. I keep forgetting about that. Maybe I should do that right now so I don't keep forgetting.
Disappears and is never seen again.
That might be a good idea. I don't even know if I have flame strike scrolls, but I guess I could make them too, right?
One night, Bill was camping in the outback with some friends.
All right, we're gonna do that again. I know I'm just spending a lot of time just running down to dungeons, but if I do that, then at least I'll have it. Gee, I should pick that shit up. How many?
When suddenly I saw a light. At first I thought it was someone waving
Yep,
a lantern.
that's like 100k right now. How many blogs are there?
Danced a few jigs and hovered about, first high and then low, but always keeping at about 50 yards distant.
It was clear that whatever was controlling the light
Should be able to like mark a temporary spot, so if you're not gone for more than 10 minutes, you can just go back to it instantly.
and urged his group to go after it. But the men in the group knew the story about the Min Min lights, and they knew that no matter what, if you see one, you don't follow it. Bill wasn't impressed. He got up and went off to find who or what was behind this mysterious light. Bill walked slowly through the darkness, brush and twigs snapping beneath his feet.
I don't know how many of these I need.
The light hovered in place, and Bill could swear it was waiting for him.
I needed to.
Bill was far away from camp.
Does anybody know? Do I need to make sure that I'm using the flame strike scroll for it to work, or will it automatically use it when I cast flame strike?
When he heard panicked voices yelling at him from camp, he turned around and he could see his friends by firelight waving their arms and shouting for him to stop moving. Bill froze in place.
Because I don't know.
The light then floated up, still a few yards ahead. It hovered about shoulder height, waited for a second or two, and then shot back down through the ground. But then Bill noticed something. The light wasn't shooting through the ground. It was diving into a deep chasm that went down hundreds of feet. Bill looked down and saw he was one, maybe 2 steps from the cliff.
To like turn on auto use scrolls or something like that? There's a lot of that. I should take more of a look. I'll take a look.
Back to him a couple of times, and Bill felt like it wanted him to follow. When Bill turned and headed back to camp, the light disappeared. James Birch from the nearby town of Kimberly had a Min Min light sighting while driving home from a hunting trip. He was with a few friends when the light appeared.
Commands. Alright. Forms, website, how many? 3 pages. Aspects, skill mastery, achievements. What would it be under codex? Aspect,
in the complete opposite direction. Nobody remembered turning around, but there they were, following this light into the darkness, mesmerized. They stopped the car, gathered themselves, and
auto use spell scroll. Oink. Easy peasy. You will automatically attempt to search for and use spell scrolls when casting a spell. What a good game this is.
The Min Min lights are wandering spirits, but there are some people who believe they're from someplace farther away.
Thank you, Red Dot. Appreciate that. It's funny as I would have known, like I'm pretty sure there was one, but I would not have known how to find it. That was the first time ever we just saw that here that I went into that command page. Never even seen it before.
Some places have become famous for them. Marfa, Texas, Gurdon, Arkansas, Surrency, Georgia. There are also the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina and the Joplin Spook Light on the border of Missouri and Oklahoma.
Second one I missed, but that first one I thought I could go over the edge there.
Explained by science. Well, sometimes. Ghost lights are usually attributed to one of a few natural phenomena. One is swamp gas, which
swamp gas. Swamp gas is everywhere.
Decaying organic matter is flammable, and under certain conditions, it can ignite. Now, it's possible that some ghost lights are swamp gas, But in places where lights appear during different weather conditions, it's not swamp gas. Another explanation is the piezoelectric effect. And when quartz crystals are placed under stress, like from tectonic activity, they can produce an enormous amount of electricity. Gurdon, Georgia sits on top of a large quartz deposit and is on a fault line. Plus, an earthquake was felt about the same time Will McLean was murdered
Have to go a
on
little
the
bit
train
deeper.
tracks. But this doesn't explain why the
I don't know
light
who's
appears
doing
as a
this.
ball and
Yoink.
hovers, or why it appears frequently, even when there's no
Yoink.
seismic
5 at a
activity.
time, baby.
Another
5 at a time.
explanation for ghost lights is when certain atmospheric conditions create optical illusions. There's a phenomenon called a superior
We're just gonna hit
mirage,
that a couple
which
times
occurs
because we
when
don't
the air
particularly
near
like
the
face very
ground is
much. So
colder than the air above it. And this bends light rays so that objects look like they're floating above the surface. A superior mirage is pretty
all right,
rare.
we'll go a little further down.
The best place to see one is where you can view a long distance unobscured, like over large bodies of water or over a large swath of flat terrain. Terrain, for example, that you can find in Marfa, Texas.
Well, that'll use the scroll, right?
It had long been suspected that the Marfa lights are
That'll only do it for this account or for this character, correct? That's not gonna like set it for my whole account or anything. All right, whatever. I can always get more scrolls. You know, that's not. I probably should have grabbed Mind Blast too. Since I have 120 inscribed, it would have been smart. We'll get there. It's gonna take a couple weeks for me to, you know, not be a shit cam PDMer, but we'll get there. Slow and steady.
Well, that's true. Robert Reed Ellison said he spotted the lights in 1883.
Right.
Except he didn't.
Oh.
There is no record of him ever saying it. He even published memoirs of his life in 1937, and it didn't come up. The story comes from his daughter, Julie.
And they thought they were probably a campfire,
Uh-oh.
Indians, or other travelers. But they just kept seeing them. The next night, they were there. And the next night, and the next week and year. And I'm sure they began to wonder, what on earth were those lights?
Now, to be fair, the lights do merge and spread apart and disappear and reappear. This could still be light bending in different ways, but it would be unusual for a superior mirage to behave this way. Now, most Marfa lights are definitely headlights, but locals swear that you can still see the lights when looking in the direction away from the highways, and you don't argue with Texans. The Surrency light is a tricky one. In 1985, scientists did discover a pocket of liquid
Don't argue with
9 miles below the
Texas.
surface in the area. Now, this
It
doesn't
just turned off.
directly
That wasn't even. It
imply
didn't even
it's
show that it was off yet. That is some
The truth is,
bullshit.
most of the ghost lights around the world can be explained, but not all of them. The lights in the Hessdalen Valley are the strangest of all. Daniel Gross outlines the technology and methods that could be used to create the exact phenomenon we see in Hessdalen. That there is an alien probe high in the Earth's orbit, sending laser pulses into the atmosphere. His theory could explain all the lights we're seeing around the world. Now, the paper is highly technical, but his hypothesis is the only explanation that answers every question and solves every puzzle associated with ghost lights. 10 years
Dungeon's
ago,
busy.
a theory about an alien probe firing bursts of energy into our atmosphere seemed improbable, but not impossible.
When you eliminate the impossible, then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Right. With whistleblowers coming forward and Congress demanding answers,
Okay, how many spells will it parry? Just all of them?
neighborhood theory could be the answer. And it may turn out
I don't want to fight you anymore. If I'm being honest. You parrying my spells made me mad. There's 100 people down here.
Now, most of the ghost lights can be explained and debunked, but not the Hessdalen lights.
Forget about the lights. How about the campaign ad, huh?
Yes, it was very good.
The hero we deserve.
We got it.
When you go to vote, if I'm not on the ballot, you can go ahead and write me in.
Don't tell people to do that. Voting is important.
Hello, I know. That's why they may have to write me in. Hecklefish J. Moriarty. That's Heckl.
Oh, I totally dodged that on purpose. Pretty good.
Okay, we got it.
Moriarty.
The last episode in today's compilation is about two inventions. One by Thomas Edison and one by Nikola Tesla. They were both inventions that those men claimed could speak to the dead. Now, we can't find the specs on Edison's version, but we do have the specs
What in
on Tesla's
the
version.
world?
And if the specifications are out there, That
I feel
means
like I should just
people
murder that
will.
guy.
And they have.
There you go. There it is. Should I hide my goods like other people do? Just I saw that Sanguini was on. I have a skill scroll too.
But as different as these men were,
God knows if he
also
sees
had
my sweet
similarities.
goodies, he's gonna try to steal them. So
Both were obsessive, workaholic, egomaniacal geniuses.
gonna start out to being one of those people that are, hey, Straw, what's up?
Paranormal technology.
Do I believe in ghosts? No, I don't think so.
Nikola
No.
Tesla was convinced he could
I don't think so.
invent
Shug was in here later, earlier, Sugar Daddy, and we were talking about it. And we both don't really. I'm really not on the ghost thing. But this was just a new episode out.
Tesla was a promising young engineer working for Edison.
Even this, right? Like he's debunked almost all of the ones that he's talked about pretty definitively. I mean, definitively enough, I guess.
On paper before picking up any tools.
I love this YouTube thing. I've seen almost, I think, pretty well every one they've had now.
Out on his own and quickly made a name for himself. And the
I thought there, excuse me, I thought there was going to be a new one today because he did a part 1 not too long ago. So I thought this might be the part 2 coming, but
Edison's direct current, and this was Tesla's biggest victory.
yeah, I mean that's what it seems like, right? A lot of it is just.
Would never forgive or forget. So when Tesla claimed he invented a device that could tune into the spirit world, Edison wanted in on the action. And Tesla called his device a spirit radio. Edison's was called a ghost phone. But what I found most interesting about the story is, why did 2 of history's most famous scientists think that talking to ghosts was even possible?
See, that's what I said earlier.
So why would famous scientists be interested in contacting ghosts?
So it seems weird, right?
Well, in the early 20th century, psychics, mediums, and seances were very fashionable. It was actually pretty mainstream to think that it might be possible to communicate with the dead. But Edison was initially skeptical of paranormal, and when he learned Tesla was building a radio to listen to spirits, he dismissed him.
Build one too.
Then Tesla started grabbing headlines and patents.
Yeah,
this
see?
was something Edison could not abide, so he got to work on his own machine.
Yeah, just build one yourself.
At his Menlo Park, New Jersey lab, Thomas Edison
Okay,
gathered a group of
guys, if this Juka guy from IDOC loots my kill, should I absolutely rage on him? Oh my god, he did. He absolutely did. It was past 50%, he walked up, hit it 3 times, and looted my kill. That's it. Alliance is over. You wait till I get into the officer channel.
any disturbance that crossed through it, no matter how small. And no matter
Oh, I'm doing
whether
it.
was visible or
Don't
not.
you worry. Yeah, Suge and I were saying, like, UFOs seem to be, like, a thing that have enough
Now, at this point, Edison's guess
visibility to them now that, like, there's something there, right? Like, whether or not it's just drones or whatever, who knows? But, like, it does seem like there's stuff flying around. So that's a thing. But ghosts still.
He claimed to have invented a device which would allow the dead.
But I've never seen anything either or, right? I've never seen any ghosts. I've never seen any spaceships. Or drones, if you will.
Talk about a long distance call.
So it's like,
no one-liners when building suspense.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Venkman.
Now, along with the scientists in the room that night were psychics and mediums who used objects like Ouija boards to speak to souls of the dead. Edison argued that most spiritualists were
slick
fakes,
looking.
But tonight he was making an exception. Tonight he needed them to prove that they can do what they claimed, summon spirits. And those spirits would register on the device and prove that the ghost phone.
Look at how much he hits for. Holy jeez.
And it was time for
He
the
like
psychics to
4-shot
go.
war
It was
forked it.
time for the ghosts to come home.
That was nuts. Oh, more Ignis. Free money, baby. I don't know who is dropping this stuff, but it is making me a rich individual.
Waiting to see if something, anything would
It's like half a commodity deed I picked up.
if there were spirits present. So the mediums said ghosts were there, but the needle didn't move. So were the powers of the psychics not strong enough? Was Edison's device not sensitive enough? Were spirits even present? And after a few hours, Edison thanked everyone, sent them home, and went back to work.
This place is
Now remember,
packed.
he saw every failure as an opportunity to learn. So he kept experimenting and refining the ghost phone. Now, unfortunately, Edison died.
You know what?
a few
It's got to
years
respawn
later,
here
and he
soon, I think.
insisted that in time he could get the ghost phone to work. But strangely, his estate deleted all mention of the ghost phone from his research, his notes, and his personal diary. We know he was working on a ghost phone because he's been quoted in major newspapers talking about it.
Anyone know why?
Everyone knows what happened to the research.
So Edison didn't get this to work?
No.
Oh.
But Tesla did.
Big Show with the follow. Thank you, Big Show. Appreciate it, buddy. Welcome in.
Late one night, about 20 years before Edison's ghost phone demo, Nikola Tesla was in his lab building a radio.
This thing
Being connected to
going to parry all my spells like the other one did.
He started hearing sounds that frightened him. He said,
"The sounds appeared to be human voices conversing back and forth in a language I cannot understand."
Big Show with the prime sub. Thank you very much. It did friggin' reflect it.
What made this extra spooky
I appreciate that. What?
building a
What's that?
crystal radio. Now,
Ouch.
is a type of receiver that doesn't use any external power, no electricity at all. The only power it uses is what's generated from the electromagnetic waves that it receives. So Tesla was picking
time to
up
go.
these sounds literally from thin air. Now Tesla knew that every human
Thanks very much,
being
Big Show.
creates
Appreciate that,
electricity.
Prime. I don't know for anybody new that's in here, but if you have Amazon Prime, you automatically have Twitch Prime. And that is a free subscription to any streamer of your choice. Just check and see if your Twitch account is connected with your Amazon account. And it'll show up.
If a human being's soul is
Thanks.
electromagnetic energy that cannot be destroyed, when someone dies, that energy should still be around.
Ooh, this is giving me chills.
But Tesla felt that if he could just find the right frequency, he could create a radio to listen to these disembodied spirits. So that's what he did. And today we're gonna hear what Tesla heard.
Why, what'd I do?
Hear ghosts?
Well, I don't know if they're ghosts, but what Tesla heard, it's
Thank you for the Prime. Easy peasy. Just be an absolute sellout. And there it is. You have limited time to earn exclusive emotes. Thank you very much for those Prime subs, my friends. No point in letting Bezos just have the money. Not doing anybody any good.
Brute force his way to progress.
Ship it to me.
About the famous quotes attributed to Edison, you get a good
Coming, Obo.
understanding of the man. Like,
I have not failed. I've just found
I'm coming, baby boo.
Genius is 1% inspiration.
I feel like I might be coming in a little low.
brute force. Tesla was
Nope,
different.
still high.
Tesla
Son of a
was an
bitch.
introvert who lived much of his time in his own mind. Now, before he jumped into the
Coming.
lab, he would spend countless hours working out the math and the physics of an idea on paper, still not turning a wrench. When he was finally satisfied that his idea would work,
I'm so
he
close.
documented
No more hard to port though. God, I hate how slow boats are.
Edison's ghost phone demo in 1920.
Oh, is this another one?
Tesla filed
Oh no.
patents for the technology used in his spirit radio. And because there are patents, it can be built. And if it can be built, someone on the internet has built it.
You can build a ghost radio?
Yep.
You can
And
build a
it's
ghost radio?
So now, let's listen to the Tesla Spirit Radio.
Go away, clown. For fuck's sakes.
Well, I just wet my bowl.
Now, are they ghosts? Now, ghost hunters say yes.
Careful, Bank. Don't be the only thing on the boat. Don't be the only thing on the...
Within the ghost hunting community, electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, is the recording of voices onto electronic equipment. A newer term for the phenomenon is ITC, or instrumental transcommunication. Voices are rarely heard during a recording, only during playback, and they usually have to be analyzed and enhanced.
I mean, if he keeps his crew on there, there's nothing I can do about it, right?
Sometimes the voices seem to be speaking.
Na, 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 na.
They answer direct questions.
My boat's getting kind of fucked. Oh, God.
So if ghosts are electromagnetic energy, then it's perfectly logical and scientifically sound that they could be heard in a recording. Now maybe the EVP are electromagnetic disturbances that are layered onto radio waves that can be picked up by a receiver. Or maybe the spirit's electromagnetic energy kind of piggybacks onto the EM field generated by the electricity of the recording device. A tape recorder, camcorder, cell phone,
Oh, shit.
whatever.
I'm in big trouble.
Hello? these sounds ghosts? That's up to you to decide. Skeptics consider EVP auditory pareidolia, which is interpreting random sounds as voices, or as
This is not gonna work out well for me.
random information. What makes EVP really anything paranormal fun is whether you believe in ghosts or you don't believe in ghosts. Either way, you can't prove it. And what do you think about EVPs? Are these real? If you want a more detailed video explaining EVPs and electromagnetism, let me know in the comments. There's a whole video waiting to be born. So why were two
Don't be the only thing on the boat. I don't understand how people can't quite get this one figured out. Oh my god, that is funny.
And the world was still dealing with the pain. So death was everywhere. It was affecting
There's another long ship here? Oh my god, okay, boys. I need to bounce a little bit. Oh, I might not be able to bounce. This might be all she wrote for this guy.
They say that time heals all wounds, but when you lose a child,
Help!
a parent, or a brother, sister, a best friend, that pain never really heals. Regardless of whether you believe in ghosts or not, it doesn't really matter, but be honest. What would you do? What would you give just for one last conversation with others? To say I miss you, to say I love you.
I mean, this is...
Sorry. Me?
This is going bad.
I would give anything for one last chance.
This is bad. We don't have people coming.
And that's gonna conclude our compilation about ghosts. Now, I don't know if there's an
That was a bit of a
afterlife
bold
or
strat.
some great beyond. I hope there is. But, I like the idea of a soul group.
Oh, me too. I'm partial to the temptations. I said I'm partial to the temptations. I got sunshine
Please don't turn into them.
on a cloudy day.
I don't want to die.
When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. I guess you'll say, what can make me feel this way? Gertie, 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 talking about Gertie, Gertie.
I don't know if anybody's gonna read that, but
For hanging out with us today. My name is AJ. You know Hecklefish.
Peace to the out, yo.
This has been a Y-Files compilation episode. And like everything we covered in today's comp, all those recommendations come from you.
I don't know if these
So
guys
if there's
are
something you'd like to see
in
us
comms
cover,
with each
go to
other or not. But
yfiles.com/tips. Remember the
okay, that's the end of that
Y-Files.
Y-Files.
Twice a week, I post deep dives.
I
into the
believe
stories
we've
we cover on
decided
the
that we
channel.
don't believe in
I also
ghosts.
post
Oh, the wolf lady one. Oh, when was this? 28 minutes ago. He just did a thing with Graham Hancock. Ancient Apocalypse, is that what it's called? Season 2 just came out.
Good to see you, sir. What's happening?
Good to see you too, Joe.
I watched episode 1 and I'm into episode 2 of your new season.
This stuff always does
Fantastic. Looks
make me a little bit
fantastic information.
odd. There are so many people in Mapper compared to what we normally have, which is just nobody shows up.
You had with Flint Dibble.
Yeah.
So that was the last time we were here. It was. I appreciate that he came on, and I thought it was going to.
At least I'll get my boat back and be able to go try and help if I can.
It turned out he played.
Oh, my bones.
And distorted quite a bit of information.
All right, turn this one up a bit.
That were some key points.
Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock.
One of them being the amount.
Oh,
of
you know what I just
shipwrecks
thought? Is it still working on my thing?
greatly inflated
No,
the
I don't
amount
see
of
it anymore.
shipwrecks that
Okay,
have been
hold on. Let
discovered.
me
And
see if
then
I can fix this quick.
You released a video today.
Yeah.
That went over a lot of this stuff, and one of the things that went over is the oldest shipwreck that we are currently available. It's about 4,000 years old.
About 6,000.
6,000.
The Dokos shipwreck.
But
yeah.
there's nothing left of the ship.
No.
And this
that's
is
right.
what's important.
It's not working.
You know, what he was trying to say was that it would be preserved by the cold water. That turns out to not be the truth at all. And that these ships that are 6,000 years old, there's
I got it. It's so good at being a computer wizard.
And coins and things of the like.
Yeah. And especially when you consider the possibility of ships having gone through a cataclysm.
Right.
It's not likely to, but there's a more central point than that.
I don't even know what to do anymore. We are so far away.
The archaeologist in this, which is that which is that
whatever.
archaeology
I would normally
is
say that I would think he should turn around and I should just throw overboard,
as
but
much as 50,000 years ago. And I put the evidence on this into the video. It's not.
oh,
even
we just got a 7 count.
like the island of Cyprus.
We don't have 7.
The nearest Turkish coast is about.
Well, we'll
60
see how it goes.
kilometers from there. It's always been surrounded by huge deeps. It's always been an island, even at the peak of the sea level, lowest sea level during the Ice Age. Cyprus was always an island. And yet, there's evidence now that it was settled 14,000 years ago. Certainly 14,000 to 12,500 years ago. It was settled, in other words, during the Ice Age. And these were large planned migrations. When you're going to migrate to an island, you can't just go 2 or 3 people by accident because you'll become extinct. You have to bring in quite a large population, and they reckon that populations of 1,000 or so were being
Still
brought
so
across that
far.
water,
This is a fast
across
boat.
the ocean, across the
Just-
Mediterranean Sea to Cyprus near the end of the last Ice Age. But not a single ship has survived to testify to that. Same with Australia. 50,000 years ago, human beings got there, and even at the lowest sea level, they would have had to cross about 90 kilometers of open water.
Someone have to explain that to me.
No ships have been.
He's sinking whatever boat. I can't remember whoever it was. Hobo out there, I guess.
So to say that we have
He knows enough to keep his crew on so that nobody can go on and disarm the bomb. But then he jumps on a boat with someone else's crew on it
we currently are aware of
and gets immediately annihilated.
years ago. If you tack on another 6,000 years of decay on top of that, what are the odds you're going to find anything?
I think the odds are very, very low.
Now, if we had that evidence and that information when we were confronting Flint, that would have been a very different conversation.
Totally.
But the arrogance in which he distributed that.
Yeah, I should have just thrown overboard. I shouldn't have taken Zolkuk out of the fight like this. This is my bad.
When people just want to win,
But now we're
and
in the
they
middle
don't
of
want to get to
nowhere,
the truth.
so.
It does.
And the truth is it's very fascinating. Another thing that was very fascinating that he discussed, I didn't watch your whole video.
Yeah, I
but
suppose that's fair.
scenes.
But I mean, when you're self-proclaimed God's gift to you, should you really make mistakes, Red Dawn? That's the thing,
noticeable
right?
difference between domestic seeds and seeds that are wild. And the difference is the seeds that are wild, they break off easier because it makes sense that it would help them prosper. It would help them be able to spread the seed if it broke off the plant easier.
Seems like it leans a little more towards, just
they start using large
talking it up is a bit more of your specialty outside of actually being able to do it.
To the plant, because it makes sense that it would, if you're going to harvest all of the plants and then take the seeds off of it, for the plant to prosper, you would want the seeds to be more robust. So there's these changes. And I said, have they ever noticed a domesticated seed going back and having the characteristics of a wild seed? He said no. Yeah, but that's not true.
That's
either.
not true either. No,
No.
it's not. It's not true. And the whole notion of the origins of agriculture, I think archaeologists got a great deal more work to do on that. Often, I'm misrepresenting.
Anyone see any of the sculptures that they're pulling out of some of these new excavations that they did? They just pulled out a life-size statue of a boar
I think that's most
that was carved into limestone and like they had painted, but it's only remnants of the paint now. But I mean, that's pretty cool.
And it's precisely during the Younger Dryas that we see that shift
9
from
boats out there
to domesticated crops in the archaeological record.
Jeez.
What I'm suggesting is that these were people who had already conquered that problem. They'd already solved that problem. They knew it could be done, and they brought that knowledge with them and shared that knowledge with the people that they took refuge amongst. Because I don't think we're looking at a mass migration. I think we're looking at a few survivors who are taking refuge after a global cataclysm.
It's just very unfortunate when you have a debate and
what a nice
one
ride.
person is an expert and they're not truthful, and it just.
I think it's very bad. I think it's very bad for archaeology.
It is, because it reinforces all the things that you've been saying.
It does. I mean, to be honest, I felt beaten up after that debate. But looking back in retrospect on the whole thing, I think it actually makes the point that we have a very arrogant, very controlling discipline in archaeology, which has established a narrative.
Yeah, we were just over the server line and we had to drive the length of the new ocean.
including
Like, it's,
using dirty tricks.
I don't know if they ever
Instead
think of
of,
that,
you
like
know,
when they made
smearing
it and
people
whatnot,
who
but
talk
like
about
the
the possibility of a
distance
lost
is just
civilization, or people
outrageous. And
even
then
talk
the
about
speed of the
aliens.
boats being
I
so
think
bad, it's
instead of
terrible.
smearing them, archaeology should understand why people are asking those questions. And
Hey,
people are asking
Majesty,
those
what's
questions
up?
because they're not satisfied with what archaeology is offering. It's not providing a nurturing, satisfying resolution to many of the problems.
Okay, let's go get my boat now. Restock real quick.
That's what
Boat
drives
back.
me
Back
is
restock.
curiosity about anomalies in the past. I'm often misrepresented as saying that somehow I've proved that a lost civilization existed, and I don't claim to have proved that. What I do say is, join me on this journey. There are mysteries in the past. Let's see if they're explained by archaeology or if they're not explained. And I found quite a number that are not explained by archaeology, and that's particularly to do with astronomical alignments, with traditions that are shared all around the world. It's to do with things that archaeologists, by and large, don't study.
This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience
I don't
is brought
think
to
we're
you
going
by
anymore.
Call of Duty. You know, when a new
Call
Call
of
of Duty
Duty.
drops, everyone's trying to find a way to squeeze in those extra hours of gameplay. I get it. Life is busy, but sometimes you just...
Hey, Joe, it's the replacer. Yeah, no, you. Hey, I'm gonna take it from here so you can enjoy some Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Great.
Isn't that-
Now listen up, folks.
What's his face?
Life can be
The
chaotic,
guy from John
but you
Wick
shouldn't have to miss out on
and
the
Constantine.
latest Call of
No, I
Duty
just realized
because
that
you've
guy
got,
and
I
Keanu
don't know,
Reeves are in a few movies together.
responsibilities. That's where
I wonder if
come
they're
in.
buddies.
I will handle the boring stuff like work, chores, even podcast ads. So you can dive right into the fight. Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 is out
I have
October
1,600
25th.
Mind Blast
So
scrolls.
dive in because I've got your back. Remember, I replace you play. It's that simple.
Man, the replacer always gets it done. Seriously, though, if you're hooked on Call of Duty, this is your time to jump in. Head over to callofduty.com/blackops.
How many hours are we at here?
To get in the game. Call of Duty. Black
2.5?
Ops 6.
All right, I'm gonna take a minute, guys, and just go have a puff. Take this thing off my leg.
Is just even conventional archaeology, the dates keep getting pushed further and further back.
Further and further back.
And one of the things.
And then
about
I'll
the
put it
White
back on
Sands
when I
of
come in.
Mexico Stuff that you have
Yes.
on episode 1.
That's right. Which is, by the way, White Sands. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, he's talking about White Sands already. I watched that episode. Have you guys watched any of it yet? The Ancient Apocalypse stuff? So they're at the White Sands and they've found human footprints in the embedded in the sands now because of erosion, and mammoth footprints and giant sloths, which are apparently these sloths that were 8 feet tall, which is just terrifying when you think about it.
What do they think that environment was like?
But they're carbon dating the footprints and stuff back to 20,000 years ago or something, which makes things kind of weird.
They wouldn't have left the footprints.
Yeah, so they just came out with season 2, Red Dot.
Is that the same stuff they use for gypsum board for construction?
I reckon so. Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. I mean,
fine,
I don't know how much of it is
and it just
true
goes
or
on
whatever,
forever.
or untrue, or...
Sculpted and massive and huge.
Well, it's interesting.
It's an amazing time there.
So it looked incredible. So they found footprints there, and these are absolutely human footprints, and there's not just a few of them. There's
The episode I was on
thousands.
today, they're talking about Easter Island and that stuff, Rapa Nui.
Is you can see the interactions between the human beings and animals. You can see that somebody is reacting to a giant sloth, which has suddenly turned around, and the person
Giant
who's behind
sloth.
it suddenly turns around as well.
Wow.
There's mammoth footprints overlaying human footprints, and then human footprints overlaying those, and it goes down for meters under the ground. So you have a very deep stratification of these impressions that have been left behind by our ancestors and by animals that are now completely extinct. Mammoths and mastodons went extinct during the Younger Dryas, but there are their footprints from 23,000
Roll
years
2
ago,
joints, kiss the
side
roommates
by
home
side
soon.
with the footprints of human beings. It's very intimate to see a footprint, to see those 5 toes, to see the heel.
The footprints do look
to see
cool.
sometimes a
They really
child
do.
walking
Right?
beside
Some of them are big, some of them are small. They do look like kids and stuff. And then you see it beside a woolly mammoth footprint.
Opens the door. Archaeology has been very reluctant to accept a much older peopling of the Americas than previously was held. It was held for a long time, that it was about 13,000 years ago. They've abandoned that now. They did cling on tooth and nail for decades, but that's been abandoned. It's accepted that human beings came here long before 13,000 years ago. And White Sands is one of the places which provides just absolute, definite, irrefutable evidence of that they were here 23,000 years ago. But we don't know yet how
23,000 years.
They were here. This is part of the problem. I often remember a site called the Cerruti Mastodon site in San Diego. I went to see the exhibits are in the San Diego Natural History Museum, and I talked with the expert there, Dr. Tom Desmarais, and they are convinced that they are looking at human traces there. It was a butchering of a mastodon, but the way the bones were broken and the marrow was
butchering of a
I
mastodon.
don't see any other way that this could have been done except by human beings. And the thing is, it's 130,000 years old, not 23,000 years old, not 13,000 years old, but
130,000. They say that it was butchered by humans.
This opens the possibility that human beings have been in the Americas before they were in Europe, and that becomes
that's crazy.
That's a door that opens all kinds of possibilities which have been neglected. I think the prejudice is the prejudice that the Americas were only settled very late in the human story. Led archaeology to not have their eye on the possibility of what happens if they were here.
Oh crap! I'm gonna sneeze again.
And they tend not to look to that.
Well, what I was going to ask is, as they're digging deeper and deeper, and they're finding these footprints in White Sands, New Mexico, is there a possibility that they could dig deeper still and find things that are even older?
Yes.
So
yes, of course.
How do they know where to go?
It was found by accident. The first footprints were found completely by accident, and
but he was just
they
out
were
walking
found by indigenous local people who alerted the National Park Service to them, and we have a number of indigenous spokespeople who speak to the White Sands mystery and how it feels for them, the emotional feeling of seeing the footprints of their ancestors from 23,000 years ago. The thing is that the dunes are constantly shifting, and sometimes the footprints will be covered.
I'm kind of thinking that I maybe shouldn't listen to this episode because he's probably going to talk about things that are.
And in a way, it's a miracle.
No, that 3.5. No, that's out of my price range. Last I saw that it was like 65 mil or something bid up on it.
Huge footpads are.
No thanks. Stuff like that when it gets bid on just seems unrealistic, right? Because you'll have people in there that'll bid it up, and then even if they were to win it with like an upbid, they'll just say, "Oh no, never mind, I don't want it," right? And then the person has to re-auction it again. And
came
it's just
across the Bering Land Bridge.
Oh yeah.
So
I just find that shit can get ugly.
There was people already here, and people came.
People are always so fucking out to try to get everybody else.
The way the evidence is looking, it's.
So you're gonna end up paying way more for it, which is great for the person that owns it, I guess. But
before North America was settled, and that raises all kinds of questions. And we've gone into this in season 2 of Ancient Apocalypse, primarily to do with the DNA evidence of a direct connection between the people.
In an uno momento. Okay, you guys try not to have too much fun without me. Oh, yeah. Put a sweater on because it's basically winter here again. Cover my dome. Alright, I'll be back, my friends. I will be back. All right, I'm back. What did I miss? Anything at all? You guys can hear the alarm or the pings, so. But take this. No. Fired up.
Of New Guinea and Australia.
Just back
and
up.
the peoples of certain
Good to
tribes
go. All right,
in
we're
South
back into it.
America.
I just
And that's
realized
very ancient, very old
that I
DNA
forgot to
evidence in
put
South America, but also to do with archaeological
the roast
sites
on in the
like
slow
Monte
cooker
Verde. I did bring up the issue of
this
Tom
morning.
Dillahay the last
So
time we were on Flint
either
was
we're
here.
I'm gonna have to have something else for
And,
dinner. Or
Tom Dillahay
cook it a different way, I
found
guess.
Monte Verde, who excavated Monte Verde
Okay.
in South America.
Let's
and
take a
he
look. Is everybody
was,
okay? Nobody looks like they're fighting.
14,000 years old, and therefore a lot older than what was then accepted as the model for the first peoples in North America. When he put that idea forward, he was eviscerated by his colleagues in archaeology. It took them a decade to come round to accepting that actually he was right. And there are many other sites in South America going back 30+ thousand years. They're all controversial because they conflict with an existing model. But I think instead of clinging on to existing models, I think it's one of the problems with archaeology is this territoriality, this kind of control of the past. I think instead of doing that, it would be nicer if archaeology was a little bit more welcoming, a little bit more open to new and different ideas.
I'm just looking at
Unfortunately,
stuff.
that's just the thing when
Okay.
people are supposed experts in a subject and someone comes along that's also
Inferno.
been studying it, but from an untraditional perspective.
Oh, maybe somebody.
People reject that.
I've come to the point, and I'm going to say some strong words here.
Strong words.
I've come to the point where I believe that some archaeologists, not all of them, actually this problem is with a small number of archaeologists, but they're extremely vocal. I think what we're looking at is a kind of abuse of power. Archaeologists have a power. They are the official spokespeople for the past, and they use that power to slap
the
down
sound.
any point of view
What the
that
fuck?
doesn't agree with theirs.
The
So I
sound
think that
reapplies.
there's
That's
an abuse
interesting.
of power there, and at the same time, there's not a realization that that's happening because the
I wonder if I should
mindset
see how strong I am
drives
without.
it, the feeling that members of the general public are unable to decide things for themselves.
Back
This
on.
is the
We'll give it a little.
they feel that they have to tell people what to think about the past, and they underestimate the intelligence of the public and the ability of the public to discern, to make choices between different possibilities about the past. They think that
I feel like I
archaeology
should
is
prev
only
item a
one
cape.
possibility of the past must be considered.
I think I'm a fan of the
by
capes.
general public, and that's their possibility. And it reminds me a lot of.
This
the
feels so
heresy
super
hunters
whenever
back
I have
in
one
the
on.
16th century, the people who disagreed with their point of view got burned at the stake. Well, you don't get burned at the stake today, but you can get lynched by a mob of archaeologists.
Well, it's also
online.
the same thing that we saw
Online.
during COVID.
Don't think
with
it's the
medical
same.
Experts
Yes.
that disagreed with the narrative. It's the same thing.
It is absolutely the same thing.
When you take esteemed professors and doctors and physicians and you cast them into,
I don't know if we should categorize it as
disagree with the narrative that the medical
being
establishment is pushing,
lynched.
and then they turn out to be
Right?
correct.
That
Yeah,
seems-
most of them did. You see the same patterns. It's
Yeah, I
just
lied.
power. It's
I
just
lied.
power
Spells
and
hurt too
people
much.
That have their identity wrapped up in them being the ones
Just
that
joking.
have access to the actual information.
Yeah.
They don't want it to be distributed by some guy on Netflix.
That's right. It's
even though you've been probably studying it more than them.
Well,
certainly studying particular aspects of
that's
it.
the other thing I noticed, which was the sneering attitude towards me. They talk about my wife started taking tourist photos of the places that we've been to. Well, we've never been anywhere as tourists. We haven't had a holiday for 20 years. But the working trips that we do are very intense.
Your wife's an amazing photographer. Like, who cares if she
They're
takes
mad
photos?
that
The photos are
they
incredible.
take
of real sites that are very pertinent and very interesting.
touristy photos, like of like them in it,
Amazing
like
photographs
smiling.
are the dumbest
What counts as
things
that?
I've ever heard. Like, why would you criticize amazing photographs of ruins that are perplexing?
Yeah, I know.
How
I know.
could you?
But it's
how could you find?
We're almost at 80 med.
Area where you want people to agree with you.
It's part of this desperate search to say we archaeologists know everything, and we must discredit in any way we can anybody.
I wish I
who
could
has
put my hood
something to
over
say.
It's an unfortunate.
the jack-o'-lantern, and you just see like the jack-o'-lantern eyes and stuff,
You see it in
and
martial
mouth.
arts. You see it in science. You see it in everything.
This reliance on experts, I get it. I would like the pilot of my plane to be an expert pilot. I I don't want him to be an amateur.
Yeah.
But I don't think that archaeologists and aircraft pilots can be compared in that sense. Archaeology is a much more interpretive discipline. An aircraft pilot is not really interpreting situations that much. He knows what to do in said situations. Archaeologists are interpreting the past, and yet they seem to get very upset by other interpretations of the past.
I keep hearing something, and I can't tell if it's like the dog or anything, but I forget that they're redoing that roof next door, so there's still like
very important. It's
melting tar and shit on top of it. Pretty sure I can hear the torch going.
Trust in experts. We need to liberate our own consciousness and freely think about things and make our own decisions about things and resist absolutely being told what to think.
Well, the problem is these experts are human beings, and human beings have very distinct behavior traits that they exhibit, especially when they're in a position.
Leech some mana.
Yeah.
And they like to hold that.
Actually, that's probably up a few.
Good for them to be the person that looks down upon the people that don't
1
know
at 5
better
points.
and
All
tell
right.
them what to do and tell them what to think. And when you're doing that with something like art, look, if you're doing that with something like mathematics, and someone's a mathematical expert, math is a very specific and precise science.
Yeah.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
Archaeology is like, who fucking knows what's out there?
Exactly.
Because you haven't searched everything.
No.
It's not possible to. And as we develop more these
demons are
like LiDAR, where you have the ability
a lot stronger than I expected.
Radar, all these different things where you can look into the soil itself and find things that aren't visible on the surface. See them through trees, see them through that. We're
Doing 19 damage is not cutting
it. In Brazil, they have done. In the Amazon, they have done that.
Well, that was part of our adventure with season 2 of Ancient Apocalypse. Was working with a really professional team in Brazil, led by an archaeologist, Marty Parson from the University of Helsinki, and a geographer from Brazil, Alceu Ranzi. Alceu, years ago, was the first person who noticed that there are these huge geometrical structures emerging out of the Amazon jungle, and he noticed it on a flight on a commercial aircraft in an area that happened to have been cleared by local farmers for planting crops. That there was this massive geometrical earthwork there, and that. He actually coined the term geoglyphs for these because he compared them in some ways with the Nazca lines, which again are really only visible from the air. You get suddenly this massive scope and extent of these things, and it's same with the geoglyphs in the Amazon.
God, I gotta put this thing on my foot. It's freaking killing me.
The
My
ones
leg
we
is
know
killing
about up till now.
It is in my foot though. I can feel it.
Know about them
because
of these
explain that one.
Of the Amazon rainforest. Which is a maybe short-term economic gain, but is a long-term really not a very good idea. But now with LiDAR, it's possible to find these things without damaging any rainforest at all. And we had a LiDAR expert with us, and you can fly LiDAR off a drone now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a pretty hefty drone, but they can fly anywhere. And we found, I say we, it was actually the LiDAR expert who found. He found you can see the edge of the rainforest where the clearances stop and the rainforest hasn't yet been interfered with. And then he flies over there, and within a matter of hours, he's found multiple more of these structures, several.
Deep in the
They said that in the episode that I saw, they said that the lines in the Amazon, they're in the thousands. There's thousands of them.
There are these huge earthworks.
They're like clearing out acres and acres of the Amazon forest for like goat pasture or something like that. Like they're literally just clearing out the Amazon, but they're finding all these like weird designs in the ground.
Millions, cities.
Yeah.
A whole different way of life, a whole different kind of civilization from the one that we have today. One that lived in a man-made garden, which is what the Amazon really and truly is, and lived in harmony with that.
That's an interesting thing too. We've talked about that before, but for people who've never heard those other podcasts, they've determined that the Amazon rainforest is at least partially man-made.
Definitely.
Planted.
They've determined that because of the preponderance of trees that serve human needs. They call them hyperdominant, and things like Brazil nut trees, which are providing food for human beings, are in massive dominance in relation to trees that aren't useful to human beings. And it's clear that this is a result of a long-term human project to make this jungle serve human needs.
I really wish I could pain spike. Pain spike's a sweet spell. Oh no!
I'm forgetting all of the details, but there's a bunch of
food plants
which are hyper dominant in the Amazon rainforest, and these
I don't really
these
wanna
food
run
plants
out.
show that human beings have been nurturing, have been massaging this natural wonder and turning it into something that really serves human needs.
And there's the other thing that you've discussed in depth, the terra preta. This man-made,
All right, good timing, I guess, then.
rich, nutrient-dense soil that they can grow incredible agriculture off of, that we really to this day don't know how they created.
It's a mystery. Again, it was a great privilege to have the opportunity to stand in a pit of terra preta that is being excavated, to get down 15 feet into that.
Can they recreate it once they get it?
It appears that but indigenous communities in the Amazon are still doing this. They're still doing it, mixing all kind of refuse and waste together and enriching the soil with it. So it's not stopped. Terra preta is still being made, but most of it is very old, and the oldest that they found so far is about 8,000.
Well, let's go see what we can do.
So it's just large-scale regenerative agriculture using some old lost method.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of far.
That's
I don't
right.
even know if I can save this boat.
See, a rainforest, even when you choose trees that are going to serve human needs, it's not enough. You do need to be able to plant in the rainforest, and that is what terra preta has allowed people to do. Rainforest soils are not particularly fertile by nature, so it's these spots of fertility all over the Amazon, and we went into that mystery quite a bit in one of the episodes.
It's so interesting, especially when you consider the stories like the Lost City of Z, which they turned into an interesting film.
Yeah.
But the book.
I wish I could hard deport more.
Records of these incredible cities that these people had visited a long time ago, and then when they tried to go back, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Because everybody had died off because of European diseases, probably.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
But those.
Hopefully, he's got at least one of these guys messed up,
by the
or
jungle.
I'm gonna die.
And much like Detroit, if you go to Detroit now, you can see there's a bunch of neighborhoods in Detroit that are essentially abandoned, and trees are growing right through the houses. And the houses are, that's just a few decades ago.
Yeah.
And the houses are almost gone in some ways. And if you went back 200 years ago, there'd probably be nothing left of them. And this is probably
Two
exactly
gallons.
what happened in the Amazon, except the trees just consume the landscape because it's such an incredible dense rainforest that things grow so quickly there.
That's what happened. I mean, before the SCDC.
No way. I was gonna say, if I get nailed just like that fast, I'm gonna be so fudging sad.
The expedition of Gaspar de Carvajal and his chronicler Francisco de Orellana, which was an accidental expedition. They were just going hunting in a longboat, but the Amazon took them and wouldn't let them go.
So looks like this guy's
They
farming.
traveled 4,000 miles across South America and started on the Pacific side and ended up in the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
And that's in the 1550s, 1560s.
Looks like they
And
are just gonna dock.
report seeing enormous, thriving, prosperous cities, highly civilized with advanced arts and crafts.
He actually hit
And
me
they
with a full
were
grenade.
not believed because 100 years later, when other Spaniards made that voyage and went into the Amazon, they couldn't find the cities. And the reason they couldn't find the cities was the reason that you give, which is that the jungle had eaten those cities because the human population had been
Unlucky.
disease brought by the Spaniards. The Spaniards didn't have to have direct contact with
Man,
these
I've been getting hit with the most random shit lately. Depth charges, grenades.
and just killed everybody.
It's so wild that happens. It's so crazy when most people probably aren't even aware. Everyone knows there was a genocide of Native Americans in this country, but most people don't know that 90% of them were wiped out by disease.
Absolutely.
Which is just unbelievable.
I was just
to
too
think about.
slow
Millions
reading
of
the
people just
light
wiped
stews.
out over the course of a few decades or 100 years by diseases.
Yeah, it's an early example of a biological weapon.
Yeah. Right.
And to some extent, it was used deliberately as a biological weapon, like those smallpox-infected blankets.
Is that true? The smallpox-infected blankets? 'Cause I've heard that was like a rumor.
It may well be a rumor, but from what I've looked at from the Spanish conquest of Mexico, there was a realization that we can kill these people with smallpox, and it was spread. And we have some immunity to it that they don't have.
Right, because we had it forever in Europe.
Yeah.
It's just so terrible when you read Cabeza de Vaca's story about visiting the Maya civilization, and you realize, like, that was, you guys fucking killed everybody.
Yeah, the diseases did.
You
I
guys
mean, the
killed
battles
everybody.
did kill some people.
Sure.
But not on the order of the diseases. Mexico City fell to the Spaniards primarily because of disease.
I'll have to
and
double check.
secondarily because
Maybe I'll
the
do when I get
Aztecs
off
weren't
today
popular with their
and make
neighbors.
sure that Discord's
So
still
it really wasn't just
correctly
Cortez and 400
routed
Spaniards.
through my
It was
sound stuff.
Cortez and 400
And if it
Spaniards,
is, I can at least sit in
plus
the
smallpox,
Alliance Discord
plus the
bit for
Tlaxcala,
certain stuff.
who the Aztecs had used as a sort of farm for human sacrifices for 100 years. And the Tlaxcalans looked at Cortez and they said, we can use this guy. And so they joined him. He had tens of thousands of Tlaxcalan warriors. Otherwise, he would not have had that victory.
So, what archaeology would like is to be in control of expressing that narrative in its fullest form, and I don't think they know. I don't think they can.
No.
Nobody can explain the Olmecs. Explain that. Explain those features and those faces.
It's a very curious thing, and again, the moment we start talking about people's facial features, then they jump in with you're being a racist, you're being a white supremacist, or whatever. Although they all make heads, don't serve white supremacism.
Not at all. How would that be racist? If these were the most advanced seafaring people alive 6,000 years ago?
Again,
it would be kind of the opposite.
The racism angle is just being used to shut it down.
Right.
This is something that particularly in the climate in the world today.
Well, Flint does that a lot.
Everything's racist.
He does that. I saw him do that to Jimmy Corsetti online over uses of parentheses or brackets. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah.
That somehow or another that's a code for Jews.
Yeah.
Like I thought what he was doing was avoiding. There's certain algorithms that pick up on particular words that you use. Like you ever see that people. They don't like if they want their post to be more viral, they don't write the word shooter. They write SH and then they put like 2 asterisks and then TERS.
I've noticed people doing that.
Yes. So what people are trying to do by blanking out swear words and cutting out different words is that you can bypass algorithms. That's
the old sea change.
Or limit the distribution of those kind of posts with those keywords in it.
Yeah.
So that apparently was all he was trying to do, was adding brackets or something to enhance the algorithm.
To enhance the algorithm.
But it's just like accusing someone of racism. It should be very clear what they're saying. It shouldn't be you have decided through some sneaky code to decide that this person's racist. This code means this. This is commonly used code. Like, from what I understand, those use of brackets is just to trick the algorithm. Just like the 2 asterisks for shooter.
Oh, looks like there's a lot of MAGA here.
It's very unfortunate that in serious and interesting discussions about the past, that this
So
issue of
what are we gonna do? Kill the crew and just bomb it down. Easier.
Those who are dumping race into the issue know that that's the way to shut down the conversation. Nobody wants to be accused.
Losing the battle against the fire elemental. Yeah! Get fucked.
The most sophisticated ancient civilization that's baffling people to this day.
Oh, GG's there too. How is everybody just on blues? What are they doing? Are they just like fucking staring at each other? Huh?
And we are in disagreement. There's a lot of confusion, debate as
Just
to
magic
how
area
long
real
ago
quick.
they were
Get
there.
the flag.
According to their hieroglyphs, they were there 30,000 plus years ago. But at the very least, those were people in Africa. Okay, so all the racism shit should be out the window because no one's saying that was anybody else.
No, that was an African civilization.
They literally have images of themselves. We know what they look, at least drawings of what they looked like. We have statues of what they looked like. It was an African civilization. They were the most advanced people, perhaps ever. I'm leaning towards ever.
I'm leaning towards ever too.
Yeah.
Out of ammo.
Because look, can we think of any other civilization that has survived for 3,000 years?
Right. That you can go visit right now.
That you can go visit right
Tourist.
now.
All right.
But ancient Egypt, as a culture, survived for 3,000 years. It survived the
That was
Greek
kind of
occupation,
anticlimactic,
survived
I'm not
the
gonna lie.
Persian occupation. It was only the Romans that brought it low. The Roman occupation of Egypt was the beginning of the end.
To put it into perspective,
Holy jumping! Look at all the G's. Oh, is this the thing? One that's IDOC?
Analogy.
Wow, it is.
Lived closer to the invention of the
Interesting.
iPhone
So,
than she did to the construction.
how does this work?
Even
If
you use the conventional,
if it drops,
500 BC dating,
where's
of
all the stuff go?
Construction of the pyramids, which is also
in the water? And this is hilarious that there's just 100 blues here.
Even if that's true, even if it is 2,500 years ago,
Oh, hey, Bull. I didn't even see what was going on.
How did they do it? There's no simple answers. I don't give a fuck what
I
anybody
mean,
says.
probably
There's
porn
no simple
first.
answers. How did they do it? How did they have such incredible sophistication in their construction methods?
Yeah. I mean,
How
that
did
is
they get those
PvP, pretty much.
massive 80-plus ton stones?
I'm curious as to, like,
with no equipment, no heavy machinery.
where stuff
Whatever
drops.
they did, I think it's reasonable to say that in a different way. I don't think they had iPhones.
I thought GGP hated
but they
these
were
things. I
probably
thought,
more
like, this was their bread and butter, to
today
roll in
in
here
their
with
ability to manipulate stone
reds and
make
wipe this out.
They certainly were, and I think they had mastery of techniques that we don't know about
Right.
yet.
And
Great-
perhaps
the great-
equipment.
And perhaps equipment.
What do I
The-
want
the,
here?
The Great
I don't have any
Pyramid
ideas.
remains to me.
Oh,
an
here it
abiding
comes. They're dropping, kids.
probably
Oh, there was one GG red that just...
visits to the Great Pyramid.
What just happened?
Being inside it and spending the
He
night in
wasn't...
it and
He didn't get the
exploring every
memo.
passage in every chamber, including the so-called relieving chambers above the King's Chamber. I still can't figure it out. I don't understand how it was possible.
He didn't get the memo,
to do
Bull.
this.
Someone
And then the
didn't
time
tell
scale
him we were on
which
blues.
Egyptology gives us, because Egyptology is fixed on the idea.
This might be the first... No,
Great
I've definitely
Pyramid
seen
is
other
a
IDOCs.
tool.
This is the first boathouse IDOC I've ever seen.
And then it was built in about 20 years.
23 years. Because if it's a tool of Khufu, then it had to
They
be
even
built
killed the
in
horse.
because that was his reign.
Right.
He would start, in theory, building it at the beginning of his reign, and it's finished by the end of his reign. That's 23 years. And in the broader span, if you look at the Fourth Dynasty pyramids, and even go back
Surrounded by
to the end
mobs
of
of-
the Third Dynasty, the Pyramid of Zoser, the step.
Well, you better hurry.
You find that this is a sudden emergence of incredible skills, which lasts for about 100 years, and then it goes away. It stops. The pyramids that follow the Great Pyramid of Giza, the three pyramids of the Giza Plateau, the pyramids that follow them, the Fifth Dynasty pyramids, are really poor. They're very, very poor quality workmanship. They're falling to pieces. You can hardly recognize from the outside that they're a pyramid at all. When you get inside, you do find wonderful chambers, and you do find what you don't.
Kind of
find
have the thought that I want to be,
huge numbers of hieroglyphs.
like, my nose pointed in. You know what I
Accounts of
mean?
the person who was supposedly buried in that pyramid.
What do you
Yes.
think of Christopher Dunn's work? Christopher Dunn came on the podcast.
Maybe we won't go
He
right up against
explained
Landstream and
his
walk on my
theory
boat,
that
but...
he thinks the Great Pyramid of Giza was some sort of a power plant.
I think it's a theory which deserves to be taken seriously, along with other theories as to what it is. But one thing I know for sure is that the theory that it was just a tomb and nothing else is bust. That is not a satisfactory theory anymore. So we should be open to.
I mean,
a
you
number
can
of
definitely
options.
game. Is that where it
This comes
drops?
to
By the
this
house sign? So
from a
Pleo
background
knows, right? That's why
machine
Pleo's
tool
over
making.
there?
He's a
Fucking
very
Pleo.
precise guy. He's an engineer. He understands this kind of thing. And when he looks at particularly the.
I'm going to have to drive all the way around and...
Serapeum, which is an underground labyrinth. And it's got wide corridors through it, and then off each side are rooms. And in each room are these gigantic
Oh, that's kind of neat looking.
basalt boxes.
I won't be sad if I don't get anything. I really
Appear
don't
to have
care.
held the corpses of bulls.
Oh, people are getting murdered.
They're like sarcophagi.
Like, how long do I have to sit here for?
They're on an enormous, gigantic scale, weighing hundreds of tons and cut out of the hardest possible rock, precisely engineered. Everything is exact, and it's that.
That'd be cool.
Other things that is attracting.
Imagine all of a sudden it's just got like a world boss. Man, it'd be cool if they had world bosses.
in ancient Egypt, and then he asked himself.
Each
the question,
guild
what
got like a
was
percentage
it?
of the
Wasn't
loot depending on how
what
much
might it have been?
damage they did or some shit like that.
Solution that it was some kind of energy generator, some kind of power plant, and
Yeah, using chemicals and creating
Yeah.
hydrogen and.
oddly enough, there's just a recently published archaeological paper concerning the step pyramid at Saqqara, which is suggesting that they used hydrogen.
Now I feel like I should be turned again
lift the big
if
stones up
it's
into
going to be at the
sign.
sign, right?
And that that begins to come close to the kind
So
of
I can go
kind of
forward?
technology in some ways
Oh,
that
maybe
Chris
not, though.
is
Maybe I
taking
want to
about.
be like,
I think-
well,
I
except
think
I'm
it's
going to
worth
be...
taking very seriously. I've always had
I
great
don't know.
respect for Chris. I've traveled to Egypt with him.
I don't know.
And I think he's done very important work contributing to this. And also looking at the stone.
Somebody
the
had a
stone
galleon.
vases from ancient Egypt. I remember the first time I was drawn to this mystery, which was.
He gave us one of them. This is a 3D print of
That's
one.
a 3D print of one
Yeah,
of those.
this is a
one
3D
of those
print
vases.
of an actual stone vase.
Yeah.
And it might be like not that exciting to people. Like, oh, what's the big deal? What the big deal is the precision in which this
That's
was
right.
constructed with handles
Mhm.
on it. So it couldn't have been spun on a lathe.
No.
Because it has these two handles that are also cut out of the stone.
Yeah.
and everything is precise to within thousands of a human hair. Which is
I think this is good. If no one else shows up, then I can just move right into here.
Given what we are taught
Good to
was
go.
the level of technology of Egypt at that time.
I don't know.
Now there is some
I don't.
dispute
Strong.
of
I don't know.
where these
Oh.
came from.
GG guys getting Dunk City.
About
Who?
What is have these been made in a modern way, and has someone tried to replace, you know?
Are we looking at fakes? Or
Right.
hoaxes?
Are we looking at hoaxes?
Well, perhaps in some cases we are, but certainly
This
in
fucking thing
those of the, in the Great Museum,
drops now. I'm gonna lose my mind
museum out to a big museum at Giza.
while I'm dealing with this stupid thing.
The thing is, like, even if this was modern technology, we don't know what they did. No. We don't know what modern technology
Nice.
exists
Someone else is
that
hitting.
you can take an incredibly hard piece of stone and cut it into this unbelievably precise little vase with handles on it, and some bizarre method that we don't know, and hollowed out the inside of it, and some of them with very thin necks, and then hollowed out the inside. Like, how did you do that?
Very thin neck, the bulbous base to it.
And it's all perfect.
There's another piece which it's hard to describe, but it's got a series of 3 flanges that come across. It's like a wheel, but it's a nobody knows what it is, and it's cut out of incredibly hard rock, or cut or shaped in some way. I've never seen a satisfactory explanation for this thing. I wish I could call up a picture.
Like, do I just throw a paralyzed field right here, Bull, when it goes down, and just fuck all these people up from trying to move? Or just an energy field?
I
Oh.
bet Jamie's already found it. Is that it?
No. Yes, top left. That's the one.
That?
When I first saw that in the Cairo Museum, it's cut from schist. You know, this thing is hard. And when I first saw that in the Cairo Museum, I thought, how on earth did they
Interesting.
do this? Why isn't this a big mystery? Why isn't this being seen as a mystery?
Do you think that'll just stop them all from moving?
Of an engine.
It does.
Everybody's gonna be
doesn't it? It looks
stuck.
like-
No one else will be able to get there.
Something I'd find on my Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It looks like
Yeah.
part of something else. We're finding a bit of something larger.
Wow, that looks like, to me, like some part of some kind of machine.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that it looks like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
If
looks
you know, like, automobiles and parts, and you look at something like that, like, oh yeah, that goes probably in there somewhere.
Exactly. And what is its function if it
Right.
isn't something else? It's difficult to see what function it could have. How it could
What
be
is the conventional explanation of what this thing
Crap.
is?
kind of offering bowl?
Click on that, the disc that
I was
just-
trying to turn
that article.
my macros off.
Oh, okay. The Sabu disc, an ancient Egyptian artifact from the first dynasty, 3000 to 2800 BC. Found in 1936 in how do you say that? Saqqara? Saqqara necropolis in Mastaba?
Mastaba S311. Those are sort of tombs which have got 2 levels.
What an incredible piece.
It is an incredible piece. And
I had never seen that before.
And there it is, First Dynasty. And of course, you can't actually date the object itself, so they're dating it from context. What they're saying is that it was found in a First Dynasty context, but it may have been a legacy even then. It may have been an old object even then. We just don't know that. But it's at least But it's at least that old from the context.
So it's at least 3,000 years old. They think it was used in
5,000 years
excuse
old.
me, 3,000 BC. They think it was used in brewing beer as a mash rake to mix and even out the mixture of grains and hot water in a big mash ton. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either, but I would have thought that if that was your project, you could do it without carving schist into that.
Click on that thing. What is the mysterious Egyptian disc? What it says it right there. That's it. Can we click on that? Can we go full scale on that so I can see what that looks like? Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it really is.
That is such a specific shape. Like, if you're going to just use that to make beer, it seems weird.
And it's a lot of work to make beer.
Yeah.
You could do it in other ways.
That looks like some kind of a fan to me.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like something that would be on a belt.
Yeah.
You know, like on some sort of an
Something's
axle
driving
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
It looks like a fan.
Yeah. It could be.
It looks like those things underneath it. It looks like that's how you would funnel water or air through.
Yeah. It clearly had a function. Nobody would go to the trouble of creating something as complex and difficult to make as this unless there was a useful function.
Oh, I was like, what is going
Schist,
on?
Which is a hard stone.
That's crazy that's made out of stone.
Yeah.
Like, how did you
cut out of one piece of stone?
How did you do that? And how are the measurements of that? Oh, look, it's Giorgio. He says it's aliens. I'm just gonna guess. Is this thing that's cut out of this in oops, lost it there for a second. This thing that's cut out of this in incredibly hard stone, like, do they have any sort of an or a guess of how someone would cut something like that out of stone?
I've never seen a satisfactory guess. But those like Chris Dunn, who are studying the technology of ancient Egypt, are confident that we're looking at the traces of a lost technology. We don't know how this was done. Like so much else in ancient Egypt, like we don't know how the 70-ton blocks were raised to become the roof of the king's chamber either in the Great Pyramid. There's so much that we don't know and it's not explored. That is easily written off by abusively arrogant experts who say there's no mystery to it.
That doesn't look super precise in terms of the radius of it. When you're looking at it, it looks like it looks handmade, doesn't it?
I'm sure it is handmade. The question is,
right, but you know what I'm saying? So are these vases, right?
Yeah.
But there's something about it that's like a little more crude.
Yeah.
But it probably didn't have to be precise because whatever it did.
Some days people's driving make me sad.
And it survived through at least 5,000 years.
It definitely looks like it was something that spun, right? Because you have that hollowed out piece in the center that you would have an axle on or
Feels
something
like
along
that.
those lines.
Yeah.
It looks like it's welded in certain spots too, but like how?
Well, how do they weld stone?
That's not how grenades work, but
that shape
I liked it.
That's crazy. Now that one looks ultra precise.
Oh shit.
Click on that.
I would say that's a remake.
Is it?
Oh, I'm gonna end up getting in trouble, I bet.
It's not. It's insane. That's even more insane. Because that looks so perfect. Why does it look different than the other image? Well, go back to that one with the spinning around. Look at it when it's spinning around. That one looks pretty bright.
It looks like they've recreated. Did they only find one that recreated at the museum?
No, there's one original. I've no doubt people have tried to make copies with modern materials, but
Uh-oh.
Well, also you gotta think, if it is made out of stone, some of the edges have to be beat up just from being in the ground for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's not the same? You sure it's not just a different lighting?
Beat up like the
right. It does.
The other one.
All right. Well, my boat's down.
That does look like a recreation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that's that we're looking at a recreation.
Okay. Well, whatever it is.
Unfortunate series of events there.
There's thousands of objects that defy explanation.
What are those?
not done yet.
Put that back up. What are those?
Will be soon though.
Do you know what those are?
First wheels.
So I wonder if I should just go there on a different character.
4,000.
Until, because I'll be on sync timer for a bit, right?
1500 BC, basically.
And that's one of the weirder things about Egypt, right? We don't think they had the wheel.
No, they definitely had the wheel. Whether they had the wheel in the Old Kingdom,
right,
is another question. But certainly by the New Kingdom, by the time of Ramesses, they had wheels. They had chariots.
Yeah.
Somebody's just team apping over here.
That 2,500 BC is not like, when do they think the wheel was invented?
Oh wow! It already went down.
Not clear to me.
Son of a bitch.
Let's see what the
I wonder if anybody's trying for it.
Conventional guess.
That explains why. Okay.
Was post the construction.
It's the only trouble with me not being in comms, right? People probably obviously had to play in there, and I was too busy trying to read Discord to
in what circumstances,
even be involved.
In what places, in what conditions are wheels useful?
Right.
There are some conditions in which a wheel is not a useful thing, in which it's going to get bogged down in the sand, in which it's not going to be helpful. The use of sleds was certainly part of how ancient Egyptians moved huge stones, and I don't dispute that. The problem is how they then get those stones 300 feet in the air.
Right.
You can slide anything on wet sand on a sled with enough people pulling it, but
how do you get it to the top of the king's chamber?
How do you get it to the top of the king's chamber? That's the problem.
How do you fit it perfectly?
Perfectly. And you know, I've been up there and I've been in every one of the chambers above it, and each one of them is floored with these 70-ton blocks and roofed with it.
It's so nuts. It doesn't even seem like 1,000 years more advanced than us. It seems like thousands of years more advanced.
More advanced in a different way. I think this is part of the problem where I've been perhaps misunderstood by Egyptologists when I talk about an advanced civilization. I keep trying to emphasize that we shouldn't look for ourselves in the past, that if we're going to go back 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 years into the past and talk about a civilization, it's not going to be like us. It's going to be very different. It's going to have different priorities, different ways of looking at things. But one of the things that the ancient Egyptians had, which I'm not aware that any other civilization has had, is the ability to sustain essentially a single culture with a single set of spiritual ideas and to sustain that for 3,000 years and to keep people happy and fed and well looked after. You know, this is an amazing achievement, amazing stability when you look at it. What our civilization, how old is it really? Can we trace it back to the Romans? Probably not.
Right.
Maybe 500 years, the beginning of mechanization and so on and so forth in our civilization.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
If you think of just, there's so many mysteries to it. For anybody to pretend that they have all the answers.
I wonder if these boats need to be killed before it'll be placeable.
I think this is an area where
anyone know?
I often get criticized, but I think when we look at a civilization and what it is and what it's achieving and why it's so special. When we look at our civilization today, we are fantastic at technology. We are brilliant at science. We can make the best possible machines.
All right, well, I'm not going to try to play as forward, so...
we're a society that is built...
Unless there's bad guys here somewhere.
And a society in which people define themselves in terms of what they own, what they possess, what they produce. And it becomes a very materialistic society, a society that's focused on...
I don't know, my BFF, Joe. It's like a Bola character, I think.
Ancient Egypt had a totally different focus. Yeah, they were great at making material things, but that was secondary. Their main thing was, what are we here for? Why are we living this life? What happens to us when we die? They investigated that mystery more deeply than any other culture that I know of, and they were doing so right from the beginning of records.
And they were documenting this journey to the afterlife.
Absolutely.
In hieroglyphs, and it's like, what were you documenting? Like, how do you know? Like, what were you trying? How did?
Can't tell what people are doing.
This particular myth or this story.
Unless there was some experience being brought to bear in it. It's one of the things that we point out in season 2 is that the ancient Egyptian notion of a leap to the sky after death, to the Milky Way, of a journey along the Milky Way, of encountering challenges and dangers and risks there, monsters that would block your path, gates that you had to know the password to get through. That idea is found all over the world. The path of souls. Found all over.
Kind of looks like some people are doing stuff.
What do you think that they're trying to say?
Well, I
you would think someone would be red and come to it.
Evidence of a remote common origin of this idea. It's when it's found amongst.
I honestly thought these things were always like huge red battles.
No contact with one another and are often separated by hundreds or thousands of years. The same idea is found about what happens to us after death. The only reasonable explanation I can come up with is that they've all inherited this idea.
No battles.
And developed it in their own ways from a remote common source, and that's one of the main reasons that I'm curious about the possibility of a lost civilization. That these spiritual ideas are found all around the world, and they involve the journey of the soul after death and a leap to the heavens. And sometimes it's called an underworld, but really it's set in the sky. And this journey that takes place, where you are judged on what you've done with your life. This is something else that we avoid in the world today, is taking responsibility.
If I had my boating macros, I would try to jump on and get it, but
take responsibility for your life. And if you did not do so,
I'd be cool within like whatever 50 tiles, or I don't know. I mean 50 tiles would be lots, right? It's like double the screen, maybe even less, 25 tiles.
The incredible gift that you have been given. And one of the opportunities of that gift is the opportunity to accumulate wisdom. And that's one of the things, hopefully, that we all do.
Yeah, this is weird. I've never seen it like this. I always thought that it was a group of Reds trying to do things, but...
In ancient Egypt, that idea is developed over...
When this boat dies, is it going to just be up, you think? I probably shouldn't, say that stuff. Somebody, an idea that they didn't have. That was cool.
Death is not the end. This is the conclusion of a society that put its best minds at work for 3,000 years.
Feels like that was a bit much.
The death is not the end.
Just trying to look inside.
Scientists may tell us it is, but when a scientist says death is the end, there's nothing.
Because everybody's just fucking blue.
Physical bodies.
100 blues hanging out.
It goes out forever. That's actually not a scientific fact. That's not something that's been investigated or can be investigated.
Consciousness itself is so confusing.
Oh, Red GG.
Just like, what is it? Why are we conscious? What is it local, or are we tuning into consciousness? And when you die, where's that go? Where's that energy go? Is the soul a real thing? Like, what is the essence of life? What is the essence of human life and human consciousness? Those are perplexing questions.
They're very perplexing.
I love how that's GG's ruined to this place. It's just right at the edge of it.
Great significance to every one of us. Yeah, I mean, suppose death.
I wonder if
just
anybody
is-
in our guild got anything.
Then that's a way not to have to take too much responsibility for our lives, for the impact that we've had on others, for the pain that we may have caused, or for the joy that we may have caused. If death's the end, there's no up or downside to that, whatever we do. But from the ancient Egyptian point of view, death's not the end, and you have been given the precious gift of life. What did you do with it? And there are
How
many
long
aspects to that
is the
question.
placement
There's
time?
These
You don't know?
42 assessors, they're called the negative assessors, who ask the soul of the deceased questions about what they did in life, and those are all moral questions. They bear some relationship actually to the Ten Commandments. But there's another question which is called the weighing of words, and that question is, what did you do with the gift we gave you? We gave you the gift of the human life. We gave you the gift of the opportunity to love or to hate at your
fancy
choice.
chair.
We gave you the gift to live in a human body, to have this incredible consciousness, to be able to integrate all kinds of information from all kinds of spheres. What did you do with
Wrong
it?
guy.
Did you leave the world a better place or a worse place than when you came into it? Did you hurt and damage and cause pain to others consistently out of wicked intent, not accidentally but deliberately causing pain? And there are human beings who do that. For the ancient Egyptians, that kind of behavior meant an introduction to Amit, the eater of the dead. And Amit is displayed in the judgment scene. He's a creature, part hyena, part lion, and he sits there. And certain souls do not go on. Their journey ends.
Clear?
It ends because of the choices they made during life, and because they never took responsibility for what they did.
Clear?
Well, it kind of makes sense. A natural selection of the souls.
In a way.
That if there's natural selection of humans and natural selection of animals that allows them to prosper, like and to get better and to evolve, it makes sense that would happen with the soul as well. I'm just so confused as to what the environment was like that allowed these people to keep this.
I thought you weren't allowed to do this
insane
anymore.
Civilization developing and innovating for so long. That they were so more
Did this guy just attack everybody? He did. That's awesome.
At least as far as like what we've uncovered, what they left
Right?
behind.
This freaking guy, I'm pretty sure they made a thing where you weren't allowed to block your boat anymore.
Incredibly advanced astronomy.
Straight up doing it. Who cares?
Hallmarks of a very
It was just a suggestion, not an actual rule.
Yeah, but just the
But they did other
sophistication of the symmetry of the facial structure. Of
I think
the
that ghost
statue.
is still blocking.
Incredible.
Beautiful things.
Just bizarrely technologically advanced.
Yeah.
Bizarrely.
Yeah.
Because to perform something like that, you need incredible tools of measurement. Enormous statues that have faces that are absolutely perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah.
How'd you stand that up?
Well, the answer is we
don't know.
We don't know.
I really don't think I like it at the 100% thing.
It's that attitude towards the past which I think would be more helpful. Is that we have this mysterious background to we human beings. As you said earlier, anatomically modern humans, we think that they first appeared about 300,000 years ago.
Have someone killing it?
Erhud in Morocco, 310,000 years ago. Now, I can remember...
I wonder if
not
staff
so
will just
long
come
ago,
by
back in
and
the
nuke it.
90s, when it was thought that the
And then
first
it'll just be a
anatomically modern
free-for-all.
humans were as recent
Whoever's
as
ready to
50,000
click buttons faster.
And then they shifted it. New finds were made to 110,000 years ago. Now 310,000 years ago. We don't really know how far into the past that goes. And we don't know about the Neanderthals and the Denisovans, who were also human beings. Certainly they were the same species as us, because they could interbreed.
The red's
with
coming.
us. You can't breed with another species. And that takes the journey back even further. And that's one of the reasons why I have a problem with the notion that civilization just emerged 6,000 years ago. Because we
There, you're behind the wall.
Same wiring, the same brains for at least 300,000 years, and we weren't doing any of this stuff, apparently. I suspect we were.
Jeez, they are managing to kill a lot of people there.
It seems that what they were dealing with.
Yeah, I guess we just start murdering people? Is that...
in the Nile Valley was unbelievably bountiful.
It was bountiful.
And that's probably one of the reasons before the climate shifted and changed and it became a lot
They're
of
pushing
desert.
off, okay. Do we
Before
chase?
that, it was
Anyone
probably
know?
incredibly bountiful, and that allowed them to stay there.
Look at this guy just standing
for a
there.
long period of time,
Is everybody
not
just
have to
dead?
worry
Oh
about
god, everybody just might be
Certainly
dead.
did. The bounty, however, goes back much further. This is one of the reasons why I kept on trying to talk about the Sahara during the debate. This vast area, which frankly has not been studied properly by archaeology at all. Hardly a fraction of it has been studied. This vast area.
Oh, that is a lot of reds.
Creating what they call a God of the Gaps argument. I'm saying you haven't looked enough in the Sahara. You haven't looked enough in the submerged continental shelves. You haven't looked enough in the Amazon rainforest. And the argument is that I'm trying to put my lost civilization into these gaps. But these are very special gaps.
It was an IDOC, yeah.
Shelves were
it was an IDOC boathouse
during the Ice Age. That was the place to be, just as it is today, to be near coastlines. The Amazon rainforest was a bountiful place, and
this is when I do miss playing with people that somebody would get into comms and you could just call and like three of you could just start knocking down people.
It was the kind of place where a civilization might well have emerged.
They find whale bones.
Whale bones, yeah.
Whales.
Yeah.
So anybody who doesn't think there's a mystery in the Sahara Desert, and anybody who really tries to dismiss the notion that most of it hasn't been really excavated, but it really hasn't been.
No, it hasn't. It's
too vast.
It's too vast, and it's too expensive to
And the excavation, like, you would have to. You're dealing with a place where how many people even live there?
Nobody knows, because it's not been investigated properly. It's a desert.
Okay, maybe some
it's had relatively
EDPers are coming now.
You know, there's some amazing rock art from the Upper Paleolithic.
It's attacking the one NKB guy. That's great.
Tassili in Algeria, in the Sahara, but not enough has been done. This is the problem for me with saying archaeology's basically got the story of the human past nailed down. Is that there's huge areas which have not been investigated, and I reject the idea that that is a God of the Gaps argument, because that's not why I'm proposing there was a lost civilization. And that's all
What is
I'm
going
doing.
on here?
I'm not insisting, I'm not demanding that you believe me. I just want to inject this idea into the discussion so that it can be considered. When taken out of context was a little clip where you asked me,
how is this person even
during the
attacking?
debate,
I don't understand.
is there any evidence for your lost
Is it
civilization
grey
in
at some
what
point?
they've found? And I said, in what they've found, no. And then I went on to say, but that brings us to the point of what they've looked for and what they've not looked for, what they've found and what they've not found.
Someone else doing a T-map.
That has been taken again and again as me saying that there's no evidence for my lost civilization. Whereas what I'm actually saying is there's no evidence in what archaeologists have studied for a lost civilization. Because I'm not studying what archaeologists study. I am very happy to use material from archaeologists, and I could not do what I do if I didn't use material from archaeologists. It's a very important basis to my work.
Nice.
However, it's the astronomy, it's the astronomical alignment.
I just can't push
precision,
past people. I can't see through the houses. It's just
the myths,
a nightmare.
It's the myths of a global flood all around the
Like,
world.
what am I being stopped on?
Story.
Oh, just an invisible person.
A
Oh,
massive
okay. That actually
cataclysm
makes sense.
With a few survivors who bring their knowledge to others. This is one of the reasons why I think the Atlantis story, which Flint Dibble is so opposed to, deserves to be taken seriously. Because it's part of a global tradition. It's yet another flood myth, in fact.
Well, he's
It's
just
the
gone
story-
hiding.
it's just like those 150 or 200 other flood traditions that come from around the world. And it's not enough for archaeologists to say, oh, people experienced a little local river flood. Or there was a tidal wave that day, and so they decided that the whole world was submerged with.
Not really what I'm
That
going
doesn't
for.
satisfy me at all. The fact that this is found all around the world to
You
me
guys-
is a memory of something that happened to our ancestors, something so traumatic, something so huge that it's been preserved better than almost anything else from our past.
What is your take on the Reichart structure? Am I saying it right?
Reichart structure, Mauritania.
Oh, now we're getting some
I would not like
blues.
to say one way or the other because I've not been there.
As soon as these guys start
I've
getting
been to the
dropped,
ground,
that'll be all she
not been
wrote.
able to look at it. Yes, it's very intriguing.
Very.
I
Also the salt all around it.
yeah.
but it shows that at one point in time it was probably submerged. Like something happened.
Probably was, but you might have to go back many millions of years to get to that point.
I don't really want to get walled in here. This is
I
not
don't
my
know.
favorite spot to
I'm
be.
open-minded on the Richat structure. It's something that I would like to.
This is like kind of a weird spot.
But I have not had time to yet. In future work, it's something that I may study, and after studying it, I may come to the conclusion that it's just a remarkable natural phenomenon, of which there are many.
Oh, I thought it was one of our guys that died. No.
Different conclusion. It depends what the evidence shows me, but I try not to spout off on things that I'm not personally acquainted with.
You can't just stack together in the little choke point, guys. That's not going to be
It's also like there's so many of those
a winning behavior.
Thought were myth, like Troy, yeah, and they find it.
I guess it's all just a bunch of different guilds, right? So who's the guy that's just calling and go for it?
I think the myths are the memory banks of our species, and I don't think archaeology takes them.
Who's the one?
There's a tendency to just dismiss them as fantasies, as things that were made up by the ancients for some bizarre reason of their own. But they're the memories we have from the time before writing, from the time before documents were kept, and they're a precious resource.
Are we going?
So it's things like that, and then at the end of the day,
Oh, it looks like we're going. I'm in.
What I say, that in
oh, Cleo, I got you. You're good.
Evidence from lost civilization is completely wrong, because I've written thousands of pages of books.
We're winning.
Issues like in that debate, I was supposed to prove everything about a lost civilization. I didn't even come here to prove it. I came here to explain why I'm interested in it and why I want to share my interest and my curiosity about the past with others. But if
I gotta stop hitting all names.
I would say
that is
don't
not
refer
it.
to what I managed to say during a 3-hour.
Where is that
debate.
red that I'm
Say
targeting?
refer to the
Oh, it's this guy in the house.
major books that I've written with thousands of pages and thousands of documents.
Stop hitting all names. It's just a terrible habit of mine.
Place, and you'll find that argument is not based on what archaeologists have studied. It's based precisely on what.
Okay, well, that's pretty funny.
About the past.
Well,
I haven't been part of something like that in a long time.
Flint tried to put forth that there's no evidence of what you're saying.
Great Lord of Lag. Oh, this guy is great. Oh, it's an NC guy.
The stuff about seeds.
Oh, maybe I can heal him.
This resonates with a lot of people.
I thought he was okay. Oh, he was not okay.
Perplexing. It's confusing, and there's a lot.
Oh, Gathering Gary did not.
It's not like one site like Egypt. There's a ton of sites.
Yeah.
The Sage Wall in Montana. What do you think of that thing?
Again, I will withhold judgment until I have my boots on the ground there and have a look at it. And even then, that might not be.
All right, well.
I do know that the property owners there are doing a lot of ground-penetrating radar, and there may be results.
Think that's it?
But at the moment, I would not say that's definitely a man-made structure, nor would I say that's definitely a natural structure. I would say that's an intriguing
How many people we got here? It looks like
but
quite a
it is
few.
in a geological context where other things like that.
Oh, I guess that thing still hasn't been placed, eh? Oh, hey.
I mean, it really
What was
is.
that? Follow Darian. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate
It's
it.
super hard to resist the idea that that's man-made, and especially if it goes deeper under the ground, and they think it does. They think it goes.
Oh, it does. It goes deeper.
The RS
That's
is
what
randomly
the
getting attacked.
ground-penetrating radar
How far?
is about 30 feet.
30 feet.
In fact, I was
That
yesterday.
looks so man-made.
Yeah, it really does. When I look at that photograph, to me, that is a man-made structure. But I realize now, in the environment in which I live, surrounded by archaeologists who are extremely hostile to my work, that I better.
It's kind of what I said. I think I gotta take a smidge of a break and figure out some
before
what I'm
I've
gonna do for
studied it.
dinner.
And I do intend to go.
Guess it's still pretty early,
I was
actually.
Yesterday with Michael Collins, who's the guy who's done a lot of the videography on Sage Wall. He doesn't know whether it's natural or man-made either. More work needs to be done. But it's an intriguing.
Who's even attacking this
and
thing?
it may be part of the lost history of the Americas. We just don't know yet.
What's crazy is if that is, how old is that thing?
How old is it? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Man, they did a great job at wiping out all the blues, though. Look at all these dead people.
22,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what were they making things? Like, what?
That was a good, solid run by them.
Built something like that.
Yeah, or even earlier.
Right. Or even earlier.
Is it
which
part of
crazy.
the lost story of the Americas? There's so much that's been lost, particularly in North America. With the massive destruction that took place during the.
I'll have to double check on the Discord tonight, and then I'll be able to sit in Discord with the guys.
It's reckoned that there were.
I'll just make sure that it's not
sites in North America
into the stream.
If you go back to 1500, there's about 100,000 left, which is a lot actually. But most of them are massively destroyed, and the other 900,000 have gone, just plowed under, turned into farmland.
I still don't see what this is being attacked by.
Prehistory of North America.
Gotta be some like druidic ship or something somewhere.
Process where first of all there was a conviction that the indigenous inhabitants had only been here for a very short time, whereas we now know they've been here for a very long time. And secondly, there was a propagandistic.
Nice! I got some money for killing a guy.
So let's get rid of some of our stuff.
He's expensive.
I was very disappointed when we were shooting season 2 of Ancient Apocalypse that we were not allowed by the authorities to film in Cahokia, which is one of the great mounds.
In where?
Still survive. Because they've been told that I'm a pseudo-archaeologist and that I'm going to mislead the public if I go there. So the best way is just to stop me going there. We tried to film in Moundville in Alabama as well. And again, we were denied.
I missed where they said that he
no doubt that archaeology has joined ranks.
I thought he said Tokyo, but he's in the Americas, so that's
me doing what I do.
clearly
so
not
awful.
what it is.
To deny anyone the ability to, especially when you're going to put something like this on Netflix.
This boat's just gonna sink to whatever NPC keeps hitting it.
Deny people just the access through video of experiencing this.
Look at that
site
little
and the mystery
adventurer.
that's attached to it. Like, who are these people?
Roaming around.
Why did they build this? What artifacts haven't been discovered?
Down she goes.
Inside of this thing.
And here's what archaeologists say. Here's an alternative point of view.
Yeah.
You're an intelligent member of the public. Make up your own mind.
You're being reasonable. That's outrageous.
It's a most unfortunate thing.
Well, it's not unfortunate that there's a lot of people that are interested in it, though.
More and more.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating phenomenon. I
All right, we
see
just
it
gotta
as an
hope
extension of our
that
interest
somebody in the
our
guild
own
gets it. Okay, that's it.
Genetic origins, for example. A lot of people. I haven't done it yet, but I'm kind of keen to do 23andMe or whatever it's called.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Not now. No.
Not now.
They'll sell your data.
Now someone's gonna know your exact DNA.
Yeah.
The whole thing's nuts. Like, I didn't know that they could do that, but apparently they have. Not only that, databases get breached and they find your information.
My eldest.
There's just a
son,
couple random
who is
GG
half
rolling around.
Somali and half
Looks like.
English, had his DNA done with 23andMe, and he found what it showed was that he's 50% African and 49% British.
I'd love to do it because I'd love to know what it would say.
And
Darren, it was an
that
IDOC, but yeah, like it's
that
kind of an
shows that
IDOC.
My ancestors came from Cornwall in the southwest of England.
Except it's
And
not there
that's
anymore,
where
but they're trying to
the
place,
Spanish
so.
Armada washed up, and the survivors of the Spanish Armada washed up and then integrated with the local community and contributed their genes. So, there is an interest in the.
They already
past.
came in, the
Interest
ready
our
PKs
personal
came and
past, our
dropped a
personal
whole bunch of
origins, our
people, but
ancestors,
then they
who we
got,
are, and there's a much broader interest in the
rewiped.
story of humanity that has brought us to where we are today.
Hey, wow, I hit him for 54?
That something's missing, and that we have a.
That was the strongest flame strike I've ever thrown.
I often would like to compare it to a sort of furious, in terms of the level of consciousness, our civilization today is like a furious, petulant teenager. But in terms of what it can do, in terms of the destructive power of nuclear weapons, it's a god. So we have godlike powers with the consciousness of
I'm gonna flame strike that guy again. 100%.
That's what we're looking at in the world today. And maybe by understanding our past better, by understanding our unity that comes from the past, maybe we can learn something that would be helpful to us in not carrying on in this way, because we do live at an inflection point just now. This is one thing I'm pretty sure that quote-unquote my lost civilization didn't have, and that was nuclear weapons. But we have nukes today, and we have them in an enormous scale. And behind each of those nukes is a fragile human being with his own or her own ego and complexes and fears and paranoia. And we're reaching a point where those buttons are going to be pressed. We are, as far as I know, the first human civilization that has the capacity to actually wipe itself out completely. We don't need a comet impact. We don't need a solar outburst.
Well, good for us for getting advanced.
And that requires humanity to make a major.
Yeah, look at all these corpses already. Look at this.
And I think making that major step forward in consciousness will be helped
all
by
these
better
people
understanding our own past.
I agree. I mean,
it was a lot.
Disturbing how many times.
I just kind of want to see the conclusion of this, but I'm not. This is not overly.
any place where
Thrilling
you roam
gameplay.
and realize, oh, there's a thriving civilization here at one point. And
You were in Greece recently.
Yeah, with Brian.
You went
I
with
thought it
Brian
was supposed to be like
Brilliant. Brilliant.
within the hour or
Brilliant
something like
guy.
that.
Yeah.
But what a treat it is to have a tour of the Parthenon, the Acropolis, with him.
Yeah.
And we went to see the site of the Eleusinian Mysteries and all that. It was very, very, very interesting, but just also sobering because you realize like this civilization did not make it. This insane, fascinating, complex civilization crumbled.
Yeah.
And the idea that ours can't is one that we kind of
What
hold.
a random
deep.
GG
We're
coming
different.
in.
We got it figured out. We're better. But there's so much evidence that that's just a normal pattern of human history.
Civilizations come and go.
Yeah.
We could be gone in 20 years.
Yeah.
I'd love to take you on a trip to Egypt.
I want to go. I'll tell you about an
No, we got around the corner tree thing. That's nuts.
I'll tell you.
I've made friends with Zahi Hawass.
I heard.
He's a
almost dead.
They're homies now.
Yeah, we're homies. we had a nice dinner together, and
it's
partly because
nice. He's just slow.
And hatred in this world.
Exactly.
I can't see what that name is. Bloodlust?
Harsh things to Zahi in the past, and I felt.
Bo Duke. Thank you very much, Bo Duke. I appreciate it.
So I went to Egypt to apologize to him.
Really?
And we had a fantastic dinner together. His son joined us. Santa was there.
Thank you for the follows, guys.
Very positive.
I love stories like that.
And we've agreed that we will, if by chance we get a season 3 of Ancient Apocalypse, which we may or may not get. I'm not in control of commissioning decisions at Netflix, but if we get a season 3 of Ancient Apocalypse, I would
Who's
like
getting
it to
flame
be
struck next?
entirely on Egypt. And what I would like is for Zahi to confront me.
GG guy.
At every point as we go through Egypt. Whatever one says about Zahi's explosive personality, he's been immersed in ancient Egyptian Egyptology for his whole life, and he has very strong points of view in it. And he's a fun guy.
Dead guy.
I had imagined that as people get older and wiser and realize the folly of their ways, particularly when they're
Get a little bit older, wiser.
That the civilization is just this civilization, same civilization, but older than you think it is.
Yeah, I'm hoping to persuade him of that. I think it'll be an interesting dialogue if we get to have it.
I think people for a long time had this concept in their mind that changing the dates
so it just writes in
somehow
chat. This
negates the
isn't fun.
accomplishment of the people
They're trying to place,
in
Darren.
the prescribed date.
They're trying to place.
Yeah.
That somehow or another.
They're pushing it back.
Oh!
Yes, they're pushing it back somehow or another.
Why do I keep getting stuck in that spot?
Propaganda. This is archaeological propaganda. That's been said to me repeatedly, that I'm suggesting that all the achievements of certain indigenous cultures around the world should actually be handed to a lost civilization, that ideas were brought to them. Yet, weirdly, those same archaeologists recognized that agriculture was introduced to Europe by emigrants from precisely the Göbekli Tepe area. That's where agriculture wasn't present in Europe.
Ooh, I flame struck myself again. Probably should not
this is part of the
have
human
just opened up
nature
with the
that we
flame
share
strike on
ideas.
Juvia.
Somebody has a great
Probably
idea,
knows a
we
little
like
bit better than
we'd like a bit of that too.
run around
Teaching
without
how to
reflect
do
up.
it. And this happens all the time, and it doesn't mean that the person who's being taught is any less than the person who's doing the teaching.
Might as well
The
throw
person
it
who's
out
being
there.
taught may have things
What
to
is this,
teach themselves.
Mammoth head?
I've always felt that there were, if there was a lost civilization at all, and I believe there was, but I can't absolutely prove it, I think we're looking at a terrible cataclysm. Part of it happened near Göbekli Tepe. Abu Huraira in Syria was hit by one of those airbursts, absolutely incinerated at that time. A terrible cataclysm with relatively few survivors, and that those survivors, just as we would do today, took refuge amongst people who'd made it through the disaster better. And those people who'd made it through would most likely have been hunter-gatherers, because hunter-gatherers are so resilient and so able to survive disasters, whereas people in a quote-unquote civilized condition are often not. I mean, we can see I understand that the hurricanes that are happening in the US at the moment are horrific.
He casted heal, what a bum.
Which are killing people. But we're talking about something on a scale
no placing.
And it's difficult for me to see. We find it hard enough to make it through a hurricane. I find it difficult to see how we could make it through another Younger Dryas impact event, or how we could make it through
We're gonna get
a
'em.
man-made cataclysm as a result of nuclear war, which is, I suspect and I fear, is much closer than we think. I hate the idea that nuclear
18?
missiles will be
That's
flying
okay.
in my lifetime or the lifetime of my children, but I have to say, honestly,
Another boat's here? That's crazy.
the state of the world at the moment, and the low state.
Oh, he got a heal. Who healed him?
The leaders and governments are behind this. It's not human beings, individual people who are behind this hatred in the world today. It's leaders and governments who are mobilizing that hatred to serve their own interests. And it's very dangerous. If we didn't have nukes, it would be less dangerous.
I agree with you. When you're talking about Göbekli Tepe, one of the things that Jimmy Corsetti has talked about recently in his YouTube show.
I like Juvie a lot, so if this was anyone else, I mean, I don't think when the boat's there anyone can place, no.
Above some of the
I wonder if I keep him flagged, does that mean he won't be able to place because he'll be flagged?
Want the excavation to resume in 150 years?
Yes.
So what would be a logical reason to not excavate these fascinating ancient
But yeah, as long as this
sites that
boat's
are
here,
at
I don't
least
think that they
11,000
can place as long as it's blocking it.
They don't
I think
excavate
that
more
blocks
than
it.
5% of it, and often less than 2% of it.
Is that because of funds?
It's often because of funds,
GG
but it's
guy.
also because of the feeling that as technology improves...
Look at all these GG guys. Watch this. He's going to run out, low on health, and then I'm going to flame strike him and hit him in the face.
Because excavation...
Oh, I missed!
To a
Oh,
certain
someone else
extent,
didn't miss, though.
excavation destroys what's
Yikes.
being excavated. And therefore, when you interfere with a site and start excavating it, you may be destroying materials that in 100 years, technology would be able to interpret in a completely different way. I mean, 100 years, go back 100 years from where we are at present, and you didn't have
Yeah, I mean, it's
carbon dating.
fun to do this. Like, this is a fun part of UO for sure. Just standing... I mean, I imagine just 20 people or 30 people just have, like, whatever it is, some script running that is trying to place.
The luminescence from rocks.
Like, that's not... That doesn't... I'm not really... Not high up on my one.
100 years in the future, archaeologists...
I don't know who was it that just hit that dude that I missed, but they disarmed him and everything, and he just straight up died.
I get it, but I
That guy's got hiding too, that's kind of funny.
It's such an important site, and we know, I know for sure, because I spent 3 days with Klaus Schmidt, who was the original excavator of Göbekli Tepe, that underneath that place, there are dozens of huge unexcavated stone circles with enormous megalithic pillars in them, all under the ground.
I still can't believe that they're just like covering Göbekli Tepe back up.
And I do
fill
find
it,
that's like
fill it full of dirt again. Say no, we've seen enough. I wonder if they managed to stop that. I know that they were doing like petitions and shit for it. So
such an iconic site that to just stop the excavation or to only continue it in a very small way isn't satisfactory to
When you
what's happening.
say suspicious, like what would be the motivation for discontinuing that kind of excavation other than the fear of destroying things?
Good question, Joe.
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist.
Please do.
Please
jump right in.
But there is an issue here. I've noticed that it isn't just attacks on me that certain archaeologists are making. It's also attacks on other specialists. For example, Dani Hilman Natawijaja, who is the geologist who brought to the world's attention the mystery of Gunung Padang in Indonesia, which appeared in the first episode of season 1 of Ancient Apocalypse. The possibility that this site is more than 27,000 years old. That we're looking at a pyramidal structure that has had several phases of work done on it, and that the earliest phases go back
Who's attacking people?
into the last ice age. He managed to publish a peer-reviewed paper on this, but unfortunately for Danny,
They just said
on my
GG's
show,
blocking. Is that a
and
thing?
That led archaeologists to dive in on him, and there was a ganging up of archaeologists.
Oh, someone's spamming the Y's GG docking both plays or blocking both plays. I don't think this is blocking.
Without any good reasons. I've got a major article by Danny on my website explaining what happened here. It's like we don't want too much attention brought to this. Let's crush it. Let's crush it right now. The same thing is happening with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. An enormous amount of attacks are being made on that hypothesis rather than considering it as an interesting explanation for the cataclysms at the end of the Ice Age. A lot of people are just focused on trying to destroy it in every way possible.
That's super
And I
weird.
can't help
I don't
but-
even know what just hit everybody
maybe
there.
There's some truth.
Was it an earthquake?
to this, that there was a cataclysm, that there was an ancient apocalypse, something really horrific that happened. Maybe it's a cyclical disaster. Maybe it's coming round again. This is something that would.
So Papa Owen isn't watching.
To want to avoid panic, to suppress, to cover up these issues. So that would be the conspiracy theory on it. I'm not saying I buy it, but I'm saying that it's possible.
Would also a conspiracy be that they
We got it.
some of the area around Göbekli Tepe was older still, and they decided the archaeologists didn't want to confront it.
Probably GG doesn't.
That's
I
also
don't know.
possible.
I don't see anybody running into it.
In their favor and to their credit, the excavation of that whole area around, not Göbekli Tepe itself, but other neighboring sites, Karahan Tepe is the best known. Turkish archaeologists, it's interesting, are calling this now a civilization. They're calling it the Tas Tepeler civilization, the Stone Hills.
Straw, you got it, you monster. Congratulations. That is fantastic.
The region, they extend all the way down to the south of the Jordan Valley.
That's amazing, man.
Jericho.
Congrats. Oh, patch in 40 minutes.
Part of that lost or emerging civilization.
Incredible job, Straw. Honestly, man, that is sick. That was a huge ordeal there. Big fight, big land thing. Wow, whatever. I was waiting. Do you want me to come clear people out? Just throw another earthquake or something? My man, that's a huge steal, buddy. That is a huge grab. Congratulations. Unfortunately, I think because the server is going down in 40 minutes, I guess I might as well stop and do that and then get dinner figured out, and then if anything I can come back for a little bit tonight. But I think for right now I'm just gonna say peace. That was at least something different, right? Chilling there. I haven't done an IDOC and couldn't even tell you. I appreciate the follows. We had a hype train today. Appreciate that with 2 gifted subs. Oh, I missed a gifted sub then. Djax gave out 1. Oh, you gave out 2. No, gave out 1 community. No, it says 2. No, 2 hours ago. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. But anyways, everybody, thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't followed, follow. I'm streaming a lot more now, and I might even come back on tonight just to